Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake, July 2nd, 2025 Plan Commission Work Session. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Mr. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Carnahan?
Here.
Mr. Swick?
Here.
Mr. Hunley?
Here.
Mr. Wilkening?
Here.
Mr. Kapora?
Present.
Mr. Sherry?
Here.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Mr. Eldridge?
Present.
Mr. Conley is absent. Mr. Kubiak?
Here.
Ms. Hyduk is present.
Okay, old business. We don't have a number one on the old business? Three, four, three. Four. We'll go with that. Culver, site plan, owner, CWK Properties, Cedar Lake LLC, 7949 West 79th Street, Bridgeville, Illinois. Petitioner Stephen Culver, 828 Davis Street, Evanston, Illinois, 60201. Vicinity of 10833 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Parcel ID number 45152810500100014. Site plan and requesting the site plan and developmental approval for Jets Pizza and Wingstop. Do we have a petitioner present?
Doesn't look like it.
Anybody online?
There's a couple folks online, but it doesn't look like the petitioner.
Anybody from, for Jet Pizza and Wingstop here online? Nobody?
Then we're moving on.
Well, we'll just wait, maybe they'll show.
Yeah, put them on the back.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought it was at 7 o'clock.
Okay. Next one, BSC Real Estate, Friary, rezone. Petitioner Nathan Viss, Viss Law, 12632 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Owner BSC Real Estate LLC, parcel ID number 4515223010020000014. Rezone from R2 to Planned Unit Development.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nathan Vitz here on behalf of BSC Real Estate. Excited to be here this evening. Concept plan discussion. Well, hopefully move this forward in the next couple of weeks to passage of a PUD. This is the 60 acres. We are looking to call this Friary Farms. We were before you with a concept plan, I think about a month or so ago. So we're here tonight to engage in conversation about our proposed PUD. Currently the zoning for this 60 acres is R2, and we are looking to break it up into an inner parcel and an exterior parcel. I passed out, this should have been included in your packet. There's a description plat from Glenn Frock and Associates that describes lot 1, and then the exterior lot, which is in green, that should be in front of you. And also in front of you is a copy of the Friary concept plan that we shared with you about 30 or 60 days ago when we were last with you. I know we got a couple of new faces here on the board. Welcome Luke, welcome Pete. In short, this for a very, very long time, I think since the 1940s, Scott, 1950s, 40s, was utilized as a friary up until the late 1990s, sat vacant. My client bought it off at an auction a couple of years ago. If you've driven by recently, you can see that there is vast improvement that is going on out there. He's taken his time assessing with his wife as to how and what we want to do with it. And what we're looking to do is development that's A, going to enhance and create the preservation of the existing greenery that's there, that rural setting, as well as B, utilize the existing structures that are there, and then C, fill a need. And some of those existing needs are ability to connect with nature,
see a huge one is a wedding venue and/or meeting venue here in town. So in discussion with you during the concept plan, I think Mr. Austin in the back raised his hand, looked at me and said, I think what is being proposed here, a wide variety of uses, screens for a PUD. So that is what back on June 6th, Mr. Kapura, I sent to you and to Mr. Conley and to Dave's office for review. PUD documents can be rather long and laborious, so I'll try to take our way through them in a way that's not yawning filled. The first part is the ordinance, which is eventually is what's passed by both you and the town council. The only thing to really mention is here that we're looking to call this Friary Farms. Everything else is legal gobbledygook, so we won't worry about that right now. We'll turn our attention to Exhibit D, which is the guts of what could be allowed within this particular rezone. And that's going to be found in the document that's labeled Exhibit D. What we're looking to allow within this development is going to be, like I mentioned before, split up into Lot 1, which is the center, and then there's Lot 2, which is the exterior. In the interior, what we're looking to preserve is a B1 and a B2 use. So the B1 and B2 uses that are allowed in the current Cedar Lake Code. And then into that, we're mixing in a lot of the aspects of your resort-style code. So that includes opportunity for allowing recreational boats, food and beverages, that's linked to recreational green and blue spaces, private beaches, parks, campgrounds, retail businesses, as well as allowing for restaurants, taverns, lounges, or clubs. Those are the words that are found in your code. Bed and breakfast, motel space, and then also amusement establishments such as catering, lodge, private fraternal, again, language from your code, as well as allowing private parking areas, events for family gatherings, nonprofit events, corporate events, private events, craft fairs, outdoor events, food trucks, weddings, and the like. So that gives us a sense of the zoning that we're seeking in the middle, in the interior section. Right now, there's a very large parking lot that's there. There's a 3-story building that's there. And what we're anticipating, if you take a look at this colored sheet that should be before you, what we're anticipating, if you see the 2 purple dots in the center, and between them is a black and a brown, that would be the proposed roof. That would be where a wedding venue would be located. It's seeking, again, not confirmed, again, this is all concept, but the existing 3-story building, a lot of that would be turned into hopefully restaurant space or small private meeting space where businesses, small family gatherings, etc., can be transitioned to. And then in and around, when you see the black dots, we're also looking there for a variety of walking paths. So that would be the zoning that we're anticipating, we're seeking to be allowed on the interior. Then on the exterior, if you turn to page 7 of Exhibit D, what we're looking for to allow in the exterior is more recreational space, camping, parking, craft fairs, artisanal farming, hobby farming. And then there's the question, well, what can you do if we call it agricultural use or farming? And what I worked in on page 7 at the top of page 8 is I copied and pasted out of the Lake County Code that governs farm animals, how many farm animals can be in a certain space. And you'll see there the number of, quote, animal units that would be allowed in, and that's about 30 acres. By no means is my client looking to operate a dairy farm. Hobby farming is an active activity of both he and his bride, who's with us this evening, and as well as that can be a complement for some of the wedding and other venue type things. So that's why we're looking to allow that there. In addition, what you're also going to see in the top of page 8 is similar restrictions that you see at the county level and other municipalities. Grazing areas have to be within 100 feet of any locating abutting residential parcel, animal enclosures at least 250 feet. In addition to that, we've also got a lot of other exciting things that we're contemplating. Allowance for farm stands, farmers markets, maybe agritourism, corporate retreat facility, educational retreat facility center, and also leaving room for some other things that we're contemplating, such as a winery, a brewery, or a wine tasting room, and any use allowed in R2. So that's really the thrust of the PUD. We got to get creative here. This is a very big, expansive property, 60 acres right now. It's R2. And really what my client is looking to develop here is a cross-reference, what do we say, between Lemon Lake and some agritourism / meets wedding venue industry with some possible mix of business and camping and park in between. So we're looking to preserve its green character that we have right now. We've had a couple of just minor events out there bringing in folks just to see the facilities. We've had owl watching at night. We've brought in folks. What was the last one that we had, Scott? Bat education. Had about 150, 200 people on site. People really, really enjoyed it, and that's kind of the rural nature that we're looking to preserve. So that's what's found in the PUD. Now, a couple things that are deviations probably from what would normally be allowed in those types of zones, the B1, B2. Because we have an existing building that's pretty high already, we'd be looking to put in an outdoor or indoor wedding venue. We'd be looking for allow buildings to be built up to 45 feet. That's not terribly above your existing zoning code, but that would be an aberration that's requested in here. And some other additional development standards that we'd be looking to waive or implement. We'd be looking to waive sidewalks along Parish Avenue. For curbs, throughout the development, we'd be looking to waive the need for curbs. There's a lot of runoff that happens throughout the area. We prefer that naturally sheet. That's definitely something that we can talk about with Luke as we continue to develop things here. There is a significant need to run a lift station down to the building, so we'd be looking at a 30-foot easement that would run off of Parish Avenue down, and my client would be liable and responsible for a lift station to be able to run the sewer back up as is necessary. We've got about a 7,500-foot lift, I think, that we have to get from the bottom all the way to the top. So pretty much all the other standards that would be found in a B1 or B2 zoning are found within the PUD. We're not looking for any deviation from those. Any questions so far?
Are they gonna have camping?
So that's a possibility. So if we look at the resort style, your current resort style zoning code, that is one of the allowances that is in there to allow camping.
Well, if I remember correctly, when we met there and then when they were here last time, there was gonna be no overnight staying on the property. Am I mistaken, or wasn't that mentioned?
I don't think that was ever mentioned.
I don't believe so, because we've always thought that possibly bed and breakfast style would be an option here.
And that never came up when we met. I mean, all this is kind of new to me. I'm not saying I don't like it, but I'm just trying to figure out what all, because you got so many variables in there. You're going to have hobby farm. Are you going to have a hobby farm?
Yes,
Yeah. Are you going to have 48 chickens?
it's possible. It's
That's what it says in the list, is 48 chickens.
Yeah, so
Also says you're going to have one buffalo
well,
and 2 llamas.
right.
No elephants.
That is not allowed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean,
No, so it's hard to tell, right, when you rezone. So that's why what municipalities try to do is have standards. And what I try to do is adopt a very recent standard that Lake County has
Sure.
adopted into there.
sure.
Yeah.
But we're still in per se, a concept as opposed to the final or pre-final draft.
Well, that's why we're here this evening. I shared this all with Mr. Conley. I think, like I said, back on June 6th, my understanding is that the planning department doesn't have too many significant reservations of what we've submitted so far, so we're definitely looking for your feedback.
And you're gonna have a dance hall there?
That is that's again, concept.
Is that what that black thing that looks radiating out?
Correct, yeah.
Dance hall?
Yep, correct. And really the stage that we're at, Mr. Kapura, is we're in the dreaming stage, right? We've got 60 acres here. How do we maximize it? And once we understand that we can move forward with the various approved zonings, we understand that this is all subject to site plan approvals as well, but at least then my client can spend money to start the planning phase.
So I got a clearer understanding. John listed off, and I looked at it, and I'm not gonna recite it, but what you did there was what the county allows for that amount of acreage for a
Correct.
hobby farm.
That is correct.
That's not what they're proposing to have there. It's just what is allowable.
Correct.
Per
What that creates is per acre, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
That,
What's the minimum for a hobby farm? 5 acres?
thank you.
In the county, it's 5 acres, right? 6 acres?
Well, for Cedar Lake or for the county?
For the county, I'd say.
I believe it's 5 acres.
5 acres is a hobby farm, yeah.
And this whole entire site is 60 acres?
Correct, yep. Give or take.
I only mentioned the number of animals, the chickens and that, so that Nathan knew that I actually read what he sent us.
30 acres would be the outside perimeter.
Yeah, yep.
John don't miss much.
Why would you want to run sidewalks?
Good question. So I've driven
I'm
that.
talking about sidewalks along Parish.
Yes. I've driven that stretch probably once or twice a week for the past 10 years. And there is a significant drop-off that comes on that side of Parish, and there are some sidewalks on the other side. So at the end of the day, there's nothing that's connecting them. There's some sidewalks with the development across the street, but there's nothing on our side, as well as we already have there's a fence there, and there's a lot of trees that are along there. So to
Well,
put...
the sidewalks on the other side go through Monastery, because at 129th, they did a sidewalk between the residents, so that people walking on the sidewalk on the street have to go between the houses and down that sidewalk, and then come out at the, I believe, at the entrance to Monastery,
Mhm.
and then continue on the sidewalk along the street. So basically, there is no sidewalk running across the street from their property.
Yeah, there is a couple of components, but it does not run the entire length. And to put a sidewalk on this side of the street, if you look, that roadway dips down, and immediately it starts dropping. So, again, I'm not an engineer, but I would assume if the town would want sidewalks there, there'd have to be a safety curb to avoid traffic being able to drive off. Then the question is what's going to hold the retention there? Does there need to be a retention wall the entire way? It just doesn't seem feasible, but there's no, what are we connecting it to? It's really
I'm just trying to get the reason.
Yep, that's exactly the reasoning, Mr. Kapura. We talked about it at length, whether or not it made sense. Yep.
We're still proposed conceptual here, though. There's nothing really specific. These are the kinds of things that these folks are kind of speculating on doing. Is anything etched in stone, or is all of it etched in stone? I guess that's my question.
I think, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we receive the strong sense that there is not an objection to the majority of what we're proposing, I think very quickly a concept and site plan is going to be put together that's going to outline the wedding venue building, as well as exterior improvements to some of the parking lot areas, the...
You know what this is kind of putting me in mind of is similar, not similar, but about the same type of thing that they got down at Fair Oak. Sometimes they have music venues there, sometimes they have shows there, sometimes. It's just a pretty versatile type.
Exactly. Yep.
Which is wonderful, and that's pretty rural out that way. And I wish this was still rural, but it's not, so.
And this helps preserve it, correct, candidly, and that's what I'm really excited about. And you get to control the development of it as well with the site plan aspect of things too.
Well, that's, and looking at the complicity of this thing, that's what I don't know how we do. So, I don't hate it. It's certainly a large parcel. I would rather see something like this than see a dense development, although, I'm not even going to say that because I'm not going to be snide here. I think it's a great idea. It's just, there needs to be some specifics, a little more specifics, I think. But, I don't hate the track.
Yeah, and that's right. I'd love to have a site plan application too, like in my other development where we talked about tonight, we've got a site plan that accompanies the PUD, which makes it a little more simple, right?
Yeah.
And I think here what we're more looking for is, are we okay with the concept, the zoning that can be allowed here? And then to follow will be the site plan. Because things are going to take some time. We can't do it all at once.
Right, and I get it. I get it. So essentially what you're trying to do is get a feel of how much flexibility there is for something like this.
Yeah, if we could jam pack it all like we talked about underneath resort, I'd love to do it, but it just doesn't all fit neatly underneath resort.
And that's why Dave suggested a PUD for this type of situation.
Right.
Now, the religious artifacts that are still there, that's going to remain as
Yes.
well.
Yep.
And that would be part of whatever the activities are there.
So yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Scott, give us your name real quick. Address, yeah.
Scott Filler, 12921 Paris Avenue.
Thank you.
Really what I guess, I'm not gonna be the lawyer talking here, so, when me and Nathan put this together, he's like, are you gonna put a site plan together? And I said, well, I'm not gonna spend $5,000 or $10,000 putting a site plan together if they say, oh, nope, no animals whatsoever, because it's part of our concept of the whole piece of property. And it's more, we heard at the last one, you know, a petting zoo. That is not what we're looking for. We're looking more for, one, a marketing to the wedding venue, that it's an outdoor type of place, that there are some animals on it, but also very much educational for kids groups, stuff like that, where they're not just seeing, I don't want to have a pig farm. I want to have some animals out there as part of the whole marketing of the whole piece of property. And some of that is that if you guys said, nope, absolutely no animals whatsoever, we are not on board, then it was somewhat of a deal breaker for us. We really came up, now camping, if you guys said, I really don't want camping out there, it's something I would probably move over.
Oh, I mean.
But the bed and breakfast part,
Let me ask,
more and more of
let me ask you something right there. So you had a craft show there and you had vendors come in and they have to, I mean, typically they bring campers and camp over. It's similar to what happens here at Summerfest.
Right.
If that's the kind of camping that you're talking about rather than a straight up campground,
I don't want a campground, but I wouldn't mind having the Boy Scouts out there, the Girl
I see what
Scouts
you're
out
saying.
there. I would. I mean, we've talked about it already. I've met with different groups, church groups. I had the Crossroads Church out there. They were fishing. They were like, God, this would be great if we could camp out here. So I guess I'm looking for that approval on that part of it.
but you want it limited.
I do. I'm not gonna open up a campground. That is not but there would be situations where a lot of this property, I mean, what we labeled our LLC, I won't say what it stands for, but we're a little crazy on this thing, but I'm not a developer. Kind of a dream of ours to come out and do this, and I can't cry poor, because obviously I bought this piece of property, and I've done pretty well for myself, but I'm not a big developer. I am a contractor in town. I do kitchen and bath remodeling. I've been remodeling 1940 houses for the last 35 years, so the house doesn't scare me at all to take it into it, but I think the bed and breakfast idea upstairs for a wedding, you know, I hired some consultants to come in, and that's all they do is weddings. They're like, how could you not turn this upstairs into a place for someone to stay?
That's kind of what this is for, is just to bounce the ideas off, but, I mean, the more specific you can be to what your thoughts are. The bed and breakfast, I mean, there's certainly a use for that in this community. So, I mean, I don't.
But the animal part is where I really honestly wanted to come in here to see what your opinions were on it. And am I dead set on that many allowed? It comes to about 14 units, because the way the county reads, for the first 2.5 acres that you own, you get 1 unit. And then for every 2 acres after that, you get 1 more unit. Now, if you guys said, you know what, we don't want llamas out there, I'd be okay. You know, I'm not looking to put llamas out there, but it's more of an educational thing, and I'm not going to say it's just educational. I don't want to sit here and lie to you. It's part of the whole marketing of it, but, you know, I just love seeing kids go out there being able to fish. I'd like to turn half of the time there into giving it to nonprofits to be able to come in at a discount rate. I'd like to discount I want to put up pavilions for birthday parties, just like Wicker Park does. If you live in North Township, it's this fee. If you live in Cedar Lake, it's this fee. If you live in Indiana, it's this fee. If you live in Illinois, it's this fee. So you could rent it. but to let people experience it. And as far as the historical part of it, we want to preserve all of it.
I think that's important to a lot of folks.
It is, and that's why we welcome people, and if anybody, I mean, my wife posts her phone, if anybody wants to come out there and look and see what we've done so far, I've done nothing really to the inside of the building. I did paint the chapel and bought some pews and put them in there, just because I've been waiting, like, I'm anxious, and I work out there 24/7, basically. But I've done nothing.
I have no problems with the animals myself.
Well, I mean, you're probably gonna be held to a specific, if something like this were to get approved, and Nathan knows this, there's gonna be a lot of specifics that are gonna be hammered out on
I'm
this.
sorry, did you say you are against it?
No.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to.
I have no problem with it.
What is your plan on development? How many years do you think? I mean, you got one phase or 5 phases or between now, you know, are you gonna take 5 years, 10 years to do this?
No, I would like to be having events out there by next spring. Biggest problem,
I mean.
but as far as building the actual wedding venue, the concept of building a separate building that holds 250, 300 people is really gonna be all on, I'd probably do tent at first, where we're just doing it in a tent. I'd love to build a greenhouse style wedding.
Well, the point I'm trying to get at is we don't wanna approve a blanket approval without knowing what all you're gonna do. So are you gonna come back each time you wanna put a building up? Because you won't know exactly where the building's gonna go, or,
That might be your best option.
yeah, you know, I'm just, because I'm not gonna, sit here and say I'm gonna approve a blanket, you know, development there.
Right.
Without knowing more specifics and more, you know,
Yeah.
areas in. You can say, we're gonna put the wedding venue, just say,
I know
in this
exactly where
area,
the wedding venue
but
is.
we don't know what the building's gonna look like until we build it. So, fine, that's okay. But then, when you get ready to build it, you gotta come back before us, you know, and do the pony walk so that we know what you're gonna put up and what have you, you know.
That would also give you an opportunity to see how much interest there is in it before you would make a large investment.
Well, and that is part of it. I don't have an unlimited amount of funds.
So what he suggested with phasing it and doing it in phases, that might be a safe approach.
Correct, it's not gonna be where everything, but I would say in 2 to 5 years where I would be at. But I would like to be doing stuff next year to start generating some funds. The first thing I could do is get a lift station in. I have, and I not, you know, and whether, I guess I get approved for this or not, we might just live in the house, put a lift station in, and keep the boulders out
Well,
there.
you gave your address as that address, so
Yes.
you're not living there?
No, I am,
You are living there?
yes.
Okay, all right. Can I ask a few more questions?
Sure.
The terms are gonna be critical. You know, are the trails gonna be walking trails? Are they gonna turn into tractor rides, ATV tours, stuff like that? We need to know those things. And the animals, I'm pretty good with the animals based on the size and the space, but in 5 years, your neighbors are not gonna want roosters walking around their house, making all kinds of noise at 4 o'clock in the morning. Neighbors to the east, or to the west, or anywhere else. The band shell shown on this paper, isn't that where the grotto's at right now?
You know, talk to the
Yep.
side a little bit,
So the tomb building
Tomb
structure's
is-
still there?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
And my plan around that would be probably put some kind of wrought iron
okay,
fence around that to keep the general
Yeah.
public from going into it, but I want the view of the lake as a
I got you.
backdrop of the.
I got you.
And really what
I love
think
this, I love this whole concept, but the devil's in the details.
Right,
And the term, there'll be a time limit where, you know, this is gonna be void, because we have things that are hanging out for 20 years, and somebody sells it, somebody sells it, somebody sells it, and it's been problemsome. Mr. Viss, you had said, mentioned waivers on developmental variances. How many developmental variances are you not gonna ask waivers for? Because the parking that's down there now is not up to spec. Expanding the parking I'm assuming it'll have to be up to spec. Drains, base, all that stuff that's there.
I think the parking that's there is asphalt covered and is up to spec. There's
The
a big
base is what it's supposed to be?
It's whatever Cedar Lake approved at the time that was installed, so
Well, we're assuming Cedar Lake approved it.
I'd have to go back in the annals of history.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, as you and I both know,
I'm gonna go back in history a little bit. Everything that's over there, is in total compliance now? Everything that wasn't in compliance before is in compliance now?
I have no idea, no.
Okay. That little building sitting in the back, that I've asked about a few times, what have you done there already? I see behind the building, there's a huge open space. You cleared all those trees behind the big building?
I did clear,
Okay.
some trees out of there, but the biggest reason I cleared most of the trees out of there was because those woods have not been taken care of for 80 years.
Yeah, they need to be cleaned up.
And there's no sunlight, so it's all invasive bottom, and well, I've gotten some kickback on the whole tree thing, and we've.
Well, they're your trees.
They're your trees. Not that, but I mean, I want people to understand why I did it, and it was more to maintain it. And I took out about 15 trees right behind the building, and that is where I want to actually put the venue.
Well, I like the idea, but Mr. Vish, you're talking about a PUD, and then you're mixing in zoning change, and this is gonna be a PUD, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Jerry, so there is no misunderstanding. This PUD is a zoning change.
Right.
They're synonymous.
Yeah, but he was throwing in B1, B2 activities and back and forth.
Well,
I wanna
he's
make
looking-
sure we're not rezoning anything other than to PUD.
No, he's seeking a PUD, and he's proposing, at least preliminarily, the criteria that you find, or parts of criteria you find in R1, R2, B1, B2.
Correct.
For objective criteria that would find itself in the body of this development agreement, or should.
Now, like I said, there's just a ton of details here, and sticking to the details and some kind of term, you know, this building goes up, and then this happens before that happens, you know.
I think John had a great idea with doing it in phases, figure out what you.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Because things get built, and then all of a sudden, nothing else happens.
And just
We've had that happen before.
Sure. Just be as specific as you can with each phase you want to do.
What were you gonna say?
But some of it we put in there, I think, is for like, you know, am I opening a brewery out there at this point? No.
Well, that's not a good answer, because you're on YouTube now.
That's okay.
Everybody wants a brewery.
Well, it's just not gonna happen right away. I mean, if everything took off the way I feel like it could, just because of, there's nothing like this in all of Lake County, really. I mean, there's a few places that's similar.
Well, utilizing the old building is be genius.
Well,
Bed and breakfast, the overnight for the wedding, I get it.
Yeah.
I think, Greg, to your point, what we can develop in here is phase one, which is going to be continuing cleanup, development of parking lots, implementation of areas that can be used for exterior wedding venue, whether it's semi-permanent or permanent, right? That's going to be year 1 through 4. Years 2 to 7 is walking trails, outdoor venue spaces.
If it takes off, you can accelerate it, but that's
Yep.
just, I mean, for the sake of their investment, to me, that's the most conservative, safest way to approach it, to see what it's gonna do.
And what you're looking for is give us phases and give us what we're hoping to achieve within those phases.
You know you're gonna be held to specifics here, you've been
Yep.
here too.
Yep.
I mean, you know what this is gonna be.
Yep. But this is just so unusual. I suggested 60 months to achieve, you know, some build out here.
I think
I
that's-
don't think it's crazy.
I think that's a fair number. You get here, then you move to here. You get here, you move to here.
I mean, the restaurant part and the building part,
That's gonna be tough.
well, it is, and I've already, I hired an architect, started just preliminary stuff, because again, I don't want to pay an architect $10,000 and be told no. Looked into, state of Indiana, some of its fire codes and some of their, They have some hardship things for older buildings that you can get by with without sprinkler systems. But that really takes the whole bread and breakfast part out of it. As soon as you do a mixed use, then I run into, can you guys supply me with water?
We know the answer to
And I'm
that
not
question.
saying today, tomorrow, or a year from now, but at some point, if I was gonna do a bed and breakfast upstairs, I would have to have a sprinkler system.
I can't give you a timeline on
Are you
that.
gonna have waste stations out there, portable bathrooms,
Portable bathrooms,
on the trails and stuff, or?
I'm looking in for outdoor, I was just looking into the trailers, the actual
Trailers.
porta-john trailer, and just purchasing one and putting it out there. The rental one was crazy.
Craig, to your point, are we, if we don't use it, are we allowed to at least tap into it with a stub down there? Because if we run a line for sewer, it makes sense to run the water nearby while we have all the infrastructure out there. Are we allowed to do that, or is IDEM going to frown upon us even running infrastructure?
I'm not sure, but.
It all requires a permit. It'd be permitted, authority.
It's gonna just depend on the size of the water line and the intended use, you know what I mean? The proposed use is obviously going to start out at one level and expand to a different level, but essentially, you're not looking at you're not looking at a huge demand for water. I mean, obviously, get some kind of fire suppression or something, but that's, is what it is, but I wouldn't anticipate, at initial calculations for the water that you would need being an issue.
But your idea,
Let's pump 50 gallons.
your idea though, if you're gonna be digging up the hill, why wouldn't he put the pipe in the ground?
Right.
Get it up to Parish?
Yeah.
It's gotta be 10 feet apart anyway, but normally the sewer and water don't go, same spot, but they have to be separated at some juncture. But obviously, if you're tearing it up, you wanna have a game plan.
Yep.
Maybe you're gonna wanna do that once, I suppose. I don't think anybody here can answer when we're gonna have enough supply for that and be outside the moratorium.
Okay.
There's wells on the property right now, right?
We've got a very large well in the property, it's got a pump 50 gallons per minute.
50 gallons a minute.
Yeah.
Is what the report says from the well company.
Well, that'll get you by for a while.
Oh, that'll get me by for everything probably besides fire suppression. Like, I wouldn't want to tap into your water for the development part of it. And really, fire suppression could be done with tanks and pumps too, it just gets very expensive.
So besides the timing, getting specificity there, is there anything else that the board would like to see us continue to hone and develop in here?
Specific uses and activities in the phases, I think, is gonna be key. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but
And a good idea of what animals you would like to have.
obviously, per phase, the more prepared you are, and the more specific you are, and the more planned out you are, the better and smoother that this is gonna go, and the less time it's gonna take.
And can I answer your question about the house back there?
Yeah.
So it does have some kind of, my plan is not to tear that building down, but get rid of the bathroom, obviously. Obviously, that bathroom goes to nowhere, there's no water out to that building right now, but that building is structurally a very nice building. Probably structurally sound, and a good percentage of the houses in Cedar Lake. I mean, it wasn't built in 1940.
No, it wasn't.
Um,
No, it wasn't.
I can see the sewer line that comes out of that building, it's this deep into the ground. Where it goes, who knows? My intention is not to put a bathroom
Well,
in there.
it does go to nowhere.
It probably does, goes to one finger of
Yeah.
a septic.
I haven't
No
heard
intent.
much from Chuck or Pete.
I got a couple questions, actually. Do you have experience in animal care? And if not, are you bringing somebody in to do that?
No, I have experience in it.
Okay.
And my wife too.
Okay. The band shell, it looks like it's in a slightly southeast direction. I don't know the site, I've only been in town for 2 2 years now. It looks like there's woods around it. So my concern is the residents around there, and how many people are you planning on having at concert per se? Is it 250
4,000 or 5,000.
seat? Is it?
I honestly, where I put it on the site plan, I thought, I'm not gonna get into this now, told me not to. But I put it where it's basically pointing straight to.
Densest woods it can possibly be pointed to.
Correct. It's basically pointed either whether you want to call it to the concrete place, the back of,
Legion.
Nick's property, but it has to go bare, I mean, and the town has a sound ordinance, so I can't break it anyhow, so, where I point it.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at, it looks
But
like
that-
there's probably natural soundproofing there already.
Correct.
And then are you looking at
But I'm
a lawn? Are you looking at lawn, or are you looking at concrete?
No, as far as the shelter,
All of it.
I plan on lawn, kind of Ravinia style, and honestly, the band shelter, I thought I'd put it up in a pavilion style, like, just as much as any birthday party pavilion at Wicker Park, to utilize it when it's not a band shelter.
Okay.
So it's not gonna be a band shelter as far as, that you would see at,
In part.
or even Lansing has a good band shelter, or Bulldog Park has a band shelter. I'm talking very simple, and I'm talking probably, call it 300 to 500 people.
Okay.
It's not, sitting in the lawn, bringing their own chairs, sitting there and having.
Well, the contour of the land will benefit you greatly.
Correct.
Any other questions, Keith?
No.
Okay.
Well, with the animals on here, you're basically, at what you printed up there, you're adding 14 to it.
14 units.
Right.
14 units, and do I think I want that many? I want to sit here and say, I don't think I want that many animals in 14 units. But I'm more looking at, if I went into any kind of horses, it would be like a retired horse that's 50, it's all marketing, letting kids come up to it, and again, it's not a petting zoo, I don't want to put it in a petting zoo type of thing, because I am the president of the board of Humane Indiana, so the care of the animals is really important.
Should have led with that.
Well, and we just had a Humane Indiana event out there where it was all kid-driven. We released some possums out there. I mean, it's what I'm going with. So I'm not looking to have.
You're figuring 14 units, meaning 14 animals.
No, 14 units. So if you read that, page 7, it's 1 unit for the first 2.5 acres, and then,
What, a unit is an animal?
no,
Now, there's
one horse is an animal, is a unit.
and then it allows 1 animal unit for chickens is 48, for goats it's 2, for ducks it's 24, for geese or turkeys it's 18.
Okay, but, well, the point I was trying to get to is, how many acres are you basing that on?
Half, 30.
A third, so a third of that property?
Half, 30 acres.
30 acres will be a
30
hobby
acres will
farm.
be the inside development, which is, let's call it commercial. The outside perimeter is the
30 acres will be a hobby farm.
would be hobby farm.
You got waterfowl there now, I promise you do. You got ducks and geese there now naturally.
Correct, and I mean, I did hear a thing of, well, what's gonna happen with the waste, animal waste? There's 10,000 geese on Cedar Lake, they're using the lake as, and I don't wanna have, I don't wanna have 500, chickens out there.
I got the same problem. I got a pond at home. The waterfowl are there.
They're there, correct.
They just showed up there. So, I mean, there's a pond, they're drawn to the water, that's where they're gonna be. You're gonna have that no matter what.
You don't have a dog.
I don't know how you limit natural waterfowl.
Well, we're not limiting the natural, this would be so part of the concept too is a farm to plate. Obviously, I'm not producing enough chicken eggs to feed everybody for breakfast. But that's kind of the concept out there, whether it's honey that's coming right off that property. I'm sure you drove by, I have 16 beehives out there.
Well, you two have horses anyway. Oh, you don't have
We
horses?
don't have horses.
Okay, all right.
My daughter rides, we've been around
Okay.
horses, we don't own any horses right now.
Okay.
And I'm glad to hear you got beehives, because, we lose our bees, we lose our livelihood in the world.
But Friar, if I'm hunting, am I gonna get rich from selling honey? Absolutely not.
No.
So marketing.
We just want to make sure all these little tidbits and details.
Yeah.
So what I will do is I will develop a phase plan and try to get it to the board here ASAP for chewing on. My hunch here is that you're not ready to treat this in 2 weeks, if I'm reading the room correctly. But if I can get to you a phase plan ASAP,
I think it's better for them and better for us if you do that, Ian, don't you?
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you folks think.
Well, I think the key is that we're comfortable with everything that we've been discussing.
Well, I don't blame him for not wanting to spend thousands of dollars on this and that if he doesn't know.
Right.
Is there anything in there that you guys seem completely against? Like a campground, I get, like, if you say, you know what, we don't wanna
A straight up.
Hang away.
Overnight vendors for a weekend event, I get that.
Right, 'cause I'm not really against.
Boy Scout this, I don't think anybody's gonna, Girl Scouts, I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem with that, something like that, I don't think anybody has a problem with that.
Random camping turns into 9 months a year, and then it turns into 12 months a year, and it's happening right now.
Right, and we could, I would be okay with limiting that to
Yeah.
even groups, whether it's a church group or, you know, I'm not opening.
I would try to visualize what that's gonna be, what the maximum that's gonna be, and be specific with it.
Okay.
What camping, what, is it gonna be RVs or is it gonna be tents?
In my mind, it will, I mean, if someone stays in an RV that parks there overnight, I don't think I wouldn't go with RVs, they're gonna sit there for a week camping. This would be tent camping, if there was some. The camping part isn't, a deal breaker for me.
There's all kinds of camping.
Correct.
Those are the details we're at.
I've had thoughts of glamping the whole property.
Well, you know, those don't look so bad either.
But that is not our intentions on that. That's gonna be more groups that come out and.
The problem is there's so many cool things that can be done on this site, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bounce from one idea to the next, as you can see.
Yeah.
So, and I can appreciate the need for details, so we'll continue to hone down what we've already presented, try to create more details, create a phased plan. We'll get it back to you as quickly as possible. John, if I email it to you, you're able to distribute it to everyone on the commission?
No. I have a question. I didn't see this PUD. I don't know if it doesn't show up on my phone, and I don't have it on the iPad here, but you sent this to Terry and John?
Yeah.
Did Dave look this over at all?
I sent it to everybody, to Dave, to John, and to Terry. And
Have you looked this over?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got a couple.
Yeah, but we just got this, you just sent that, yesterday or something.
Monday.
Monday, was it?
Yeah, it's a couple days ago.
I sent everything June 6th originally, and then I sent
When we
over-
got it though, Nathan.
Oh, okay.
That's the packet.
I got you.
Yeah, if you send anything that has to be distributed to the commission here, send it to Cheryl,
Got it.
and then she can get it out to us because I'm lazy.
It's easier that way.
No, and I would also welcome if a couple of guys want to sit down and talk before then, if it makes sense to accelerate some of the conversations before August, because like Scott said, we're looking to move forward.
We just sit down with your clients here and figure out what they want per phase, make a decision on what you want for each phase, how you want to phase it in, be specific as you can, and bring it back.
And there may be some of those phases that are gonna hinge on the phase before it, because we don't want the buggy before the horse anywhere.
Tim, you had a couple questions?
Yes, we're on the agricultural part or the hobby farm part, do you plan on putting a building for the animals?
It'd actually be backed by the prayer house, which is,
It'll be in the regular part?
do you see the third pond? You can't, I don't even know, yeah, the third pond,
Way to the southeast.
that would be the, south.
So I guess in my eye, I mean, I see what you're doing, I would like to see a place for the actual animals to be housed, you know, just as a area, so the neighbor, you know, the neighbors along Parish to the south and to the north, just that there's not a barn or a pasture or whatever, you know, I don't know what your intent, I mean, are you gonna fence that all in and
I would fence, yeah.
the whole hobby farm area?
No, I would be where the
Only where the animals are hanging out.
animals are.
But you're saying, can you isolate within the
Just something to
ag
show
zone?
that, I mean, that would just be a concern if you did have a pasture right against up to Parish, or, you know, I mean, just something that I kinda show where those are gonna be. And then, I was looking in here at, like, the lots shall be allowed 60% lot coverage. So, when you're talking lots, you're showing me that there's 2 lots here.
Correct.
So you're proposing that you can cover that lot with 60% of the building?
That's standard code for B1, B2, so that's what I put in there. The likelihood of that happening is very, very minimal.
It's a high number.
It is high, of course.
I thought that too.
And for lot 2, I mean, for the agricultural lot, I'd like to see that be 10% or low, because it just seems like if you approve 60% building coverage on a hobby farm area, before you know it, I mean, that's a lot of coverage, so, just a concern, I don't know, I know what you said your intent was, and that to me doesn't match the intent, so. I don't wanna be, I don't wanna be lowballing you too much, but I'd like to see those numbers at least somewhat realistic to what you wanted, what you're presenting here, somewhere in that vicinity.
Am I correct on PUD about that?
I've just seen in the past, you know, some of those numbers you look at and you're like, holy moly, like, this is a lot.
60% seems like a ton.
Yeah, so, it's just a concern that,
Swinging for the fence.
it also says like all lots maintain a distance of 30 feet from the building line and street right of way for building construction, so I don't know, you're just talking, you're maintaining a 30-foot.
That's from the roadway to Parish, really, to the full venue.
And I believe I think Parish has a 40-foot FAU setback allowed. Yeah, so that would need to be a 40-foot in the front, and then, I guess it's just all lots, each lot, I guess there's only 2 lots.
Well, it states the distances that per se, chicken coop or a horse stable or something can be from the property line, which is, I forget what I read under 60, was it, or?
They have 20-foot side yard and.
Yeah, but there, it also states in there, when you're in the hobby farm, you gotta be so many feet away from the property line which you're building, and your grazing has to be so many feet, 200,
100, yep.
something like that.
That's why,
There's another spot under the state stat.
Just caught my eye, so I just wanted to make sure.
that's why having a detailed layout, we don't have to get into this percentages. This is what you're gonna put here, this is what it's gonna look like. We're gonna do this in year 3. We're gonna do this over here, we're gonna do this over here. Those are the details that I'm talking about. We don't have to get into Tim's percentages and lot coverages and all the,
60% to me,
you know.
I'm like, there's no way I'm developing.
Well, and that's why having something on, you know, some details, you know.
But I could come back in 5 years and say, okay, I wanna change my PUD and go in front of you guys again.
You can ask.
You could ask. Yeah, so.
You started to say something about a PUD when he was talking.
Yeah, no, that was my question is, it's hard to say what I'm gonna do in 5 or 6 years from now. If you take me back 5 or 6 years from right now, I wasn't standing here, so.
No, you weren't standing here.
You know, so, and I didn't think I would be standing here, but I just hope everybody here understands my intentions, and I know that you can't go by intentions, but we'll be good.
And that's why there needs to be a drop dead date with all this, because we don't want, so much done and then forget it. You know what I mean? If you're gonna do all these things in 5 years, or 4 years, or 7 years, or whatever you decided it would be, we need to know when it's gonna be done.
All right, we have any others?
Yeah, I got one more. I don't know how many people you're planning on having at all these events at one time, but back to a neighborly type thing, if you haven't thought about it already, traffic flow. Which direction, you know, there's 3 different directions out of there that folks can go. what's the best way, and depending on the time of day, coming in and out, just something, food for thought for you.
I anticipate that's something that we'll be chatting about with Luke as we move forward. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks all.
Luke, do you got anything to say?
Not really. I feel like a lot of my concerns are on step 5, and you guys are on step 1, so maybe I'll save those for a later time.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, we have no time left for the rest of the meeting. Okay, only kidding. Okay, the next one, Anderson, site plan approval, owner Chris Anderson, 11900 White Oak Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner, 219 Property Management LLC, 11900 White Oak Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 13721 Alexander Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Parcel ID number 45153330004000014. New project build out for Lot 20 Railside PUD.
Yes, sir. Chris Anderson, Sabina Joe with Metro.
Okay. Tell us, give us your address too.
My home address is 11900 White Oak, Cedar Lake.
Okay, and,
And Metro 5655 Broadway Street, Merritt, again.
okay. Can you tell us what you want to do here?
We're building a warehouse identical to the one that we purchased next door. Lot, hang on. Lot 21. We're building almost the identical warehouse, but better.
Trying to find you on the computer.
The one right there with the blue roof is the one that we eliminated now. The lot above. Straight one that we're putting there.
It's right after their priory, the last
Yeah,
priory.
I got it.
It says Isney, and the back part of it, see it. Number 11.
Number 11 is this plan?
Yeah. Basically building the same building next lot over.
Yes.
What are you gonna do there?
We warehouse elevator parts, so we get parts in and then we put them on, internet for sale.
I see, Luke, did you look at this? Is that your letter that's in here?
Yes, we did. Actually, my latest review letter's in the packet. It's item 11A. That was our latest review letter dated June 25th. Honestly, it wasn't anything too major from an engineering standpoint. Most of them were just related to drainage. I think Suffian actually sent over updated plans and responses to me yesterday. I didn't entirely get through it, but I looked through to see if kind of the major items were covered, and it looked like they were. So I might have some minor comments between now and the next meeting, but I'm sure we could probably work them out. But again, they're pretty trivial things.
You mean it's been 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. Building department have anything?
Nothing.
Commissioner?
I don't.
Pretty much got dry,
It
like
is.
the other one, and just tighten up the letter from Luke there. You know, answer his questions or do whatever he requests and get it in Friday before the next meeting. Has to be in by noon Friday before the next meeting to Terry or Cheryl there. If you go up the other one, you know what's going on.
Yeah, you send your response, you send it to Luke and attach me on it.
Okay?
Like you have before.
And then, should be ready in 2 weeks?
Could be some minor contingencies with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay?
All right, thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Will do. Number 4, Dykema, lot grade approval acceptance, owner Ryan Dykema, 2536 West Huron Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60612, petitioner Ryan Dykema, 13523 Beach Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303. City of 13523 Beach Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana, parcel ID 4515-26-179-062-000-043. Petitioner is requesting relief of permitted plat of survey grades as noted by final survey location report. Name and address, please.
My name is Attorney Stephen Mase, law firm of Mase and Slivy, 53 Munich Court, Hammond, Indiana, 46320, and I represent Ryan Dykema, who is going to state your interest. And we're here regarding the property of 13523 Beach Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana. I am relatively new to this particular issue. I did review the study session. I actually watched the whole study session that was held a month ago. Saw the questions, the issues that were raised, and we're certainly here to address those. Since the last study session, essentially my client has filled in the couple areas to get into the grade that was brought up. I think there were a couple of areas where there was a minor change in the grade that was requested to bring it up to what the DOT wanted, and that has been done. He has also basically seeded the entire area, so to avoid any erosion, and frankly, the reason he hadn't seeded it before, we seeded it many times, but the reason, I think there was some talk at the last meeting about concerns about erosion and all, essentially, he wanted approval of the grading before he seeds it, because he's already seeded it several times, and hopefully, you know, this will be the last one. Essentially, a couple of the issues that were brought up at the last meeting that I'll address briefly, and then certainly any questions you have, you know, feel free to raise. One issue that was brought up at the last meeting was an issue concerning the retention pond, basically on this subdivision. That was basically a part of the original plat, and that was approved, and in essence, there were concerns, and I think that the blame was trying to be laid upon Mr. Dykema, that this is all caused by you and caused by your lot. I believe Mr. Carey, who I think is present here, brought up and said because he had gotten a stormwater permit, and the permit had been basically terminated, that terminated the developer's obligations. I respectfully disagree with that. Obviously, I'm not the attorney for the board or the town. Dave Washington is here. But I do think Dave kind of made a comment about it at the last meeting, that essentially, regardless of stormwater permit, the developer has an obligation to the town. So if there's a problem with the system, there's a problem with the detention, and that needs to be addressed by the developer. You certainly can't put it all on one homeowner. And the issues there that are happening, I believe Mr. Carey built his house on Lot 5 in the subdivision. That has caused an enormous amount of, because the way it was built with a walkout basement, has caused enormous problems in terms of that detention pond. Another issue that's contributing to the detention, and here again, you know, this is nothing to do with my lot or the issues here, but since they were brought up, I want to address them. Another issue is that there is a commercial lot that is a part of this, and there were silt fences that were put up along the commercial lot that would basically stop, you know, some of the flow going in, and unfortunately, those have been removed. You know, here again, we don't know, we don't have pictures of, you know, who did it, or who stole them, or who took them out, but it certainly was not with Mr. Dykema, and that's an issue. It's an issue that certainly, hopefully, the developer needs to address.
Mr. Mish, can I ask you a
Yes.
question?
Mhm.
You listed a lot of stuff, we're all aware of it. Is there anything that you're gonna say that says that we have to grant him relief for building this property to the wrong standard and not following his site plan approval?
Well, in essence, there's legal doctrines basically when, you know, you're gonna have waste, when you've got a whole building that's been built here, to destroy the building or tear the building down, yeah, I think that's certainly.
No one, I don't think anyone has suggested he needs to tear the building down.
Right. And I think basically DOZ has already looked at it. DOZ has already approved the alternate grading. It's been brought to that elevation, and, you know, the grading along the back of the lot goes into the easement along the side of the subdivision. This would be on the east side of the subdivision. The plan that was approved that was submitted by DOZ and approved by the town calls for a drainage easement there and a swale where the water's gonna go into, and then it's gonna flow into this outlet A in the retention basin.
Are you an engineer?
Huh?
Are you an engineer?
I am not a professional engineer. I have done construction law for 45 years, representing the engineers who have been involved in many subdivisions.
I'm sure you're very acclimated and you understand, but you also understand that when someone makes a mistake like this, it changes the whole topography for the whole area. The engineering was done for this subdivision, the way that it was done, and it was approved, and we knew it was right. Now we're gonna make alterations to the topography and the drainage for this subdivision because there were numerous mistakes made on the structure of this property from the beginning.
Oh, I understand. There were some changes made with Lot 5, which is Mr. Carey's lot as well, and those issues have contributed to the issue and to the problem. But this lot that we're talking about here, those elevations are not going to have anything to do with the lots on the other side or anything on the other side. It affects the two sides. One of the lots on the north side of that is owned by Mr. Dykeman, as was brought up at the last meeting. Obviously,
now there's gonna have to be adjustments made to
yeah,
that.
will have to be adjusted and approved, you know, as a part of applying for any building permit to be approved, to make sure that it's properly drained back into that drainage easement, which was part of what was approved for this subdivision.
I think the plan commission would just prefer that we get things right the first time.
Well, I presume that it was done right the first time with the approval that was given.
Well, the subdivision was certainly done right and approved correctly. What happened after that was not right and wasn't approved correctly. That's why he's here. That's why he's standing. That's why you're here.
I understand.
I have a couple.
I understand. There's an issue and it needs to be resolved, and he tried to resolve it. Last time, issues were raised, you know, and essentially he said, look, I really need legal advice to help address these issues, and that's why I'm here.
Certainly.
We want to solve the problem.
I have a
We're
couple,
open.
I have a couple issues first. Have you looked at this since our last meeting on Wednesday?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so the work that was done over there after the last meeting, by the end of business on Friday, was there a bunch of work over there done?
Dated and blanketed a lot.
Okay, all right. There was washouts that had to be dealt with or anything like that over there? Oh, your lot, not the retention pond area?
No.
No, okay.
That's not his responsibility.
Okay.
That's my point.
So, were you over there after our last meeting regarding this?
I've been here a couple times, but I guess here is why he is here, and it's not on this agenda, but I mean, Luke has looked at the final as-built, says it was within 6 inches, 5 inches of the proposed, of the original plan, so that is not, the grading of the lot is not an issue. The reason that he came here, or was supposed to come here, was for a waiver from the driveway elevation, because this driveway has a 10 to 12%.
I put a meter on it, it was 8.
It's, by engineer, it's 12 on one side, 10 on the other corner.
It's 10.
Now, it's 8 overall from the curb, but that's not as per the diagram.
So basically, his driveway is over, our maximum slope is 8%, his is 12. So he needs a waiver from the development standard to allow his driveway to be a little steeper. He's removed the dirt, that was in question. I mean, he lowered that yard down 2 feet on the north side, which was the problem at the beginning. His yard is a little bit, I mean, it did affect his lot, but it doesn't, the grade currently, and this is after talking to Luke, I haven't been out there since he seeded it again, and supposedly the rear yard swale, the side yard swale is within 5 inches of, right, Luke?
Yeah, I guess that was my question, is I know that there was some grading work done out there recently. I saw the retaining wall pictures. So I guess my question is what are those grades? Are those the...
Right, and that's kind of my problem too, is that this final as-built that we've received was done in whenever, and now you've done a bunch of work after that. So, like, in my recommendation is that you guys focus on the driveway slope situation. The building department is going to make provide an as-built now that he's seeded the grass and done. We need an as-built verifying exactly what's there today.
I think the responsible thing to do would be look at the whole thing again in a month at the next work session. When you know, and Luke knows, for sure, what we got there.
Well, again, we're gonna, when he gets that turned in, we're gonna know, and that reviews are done. I mean, we normally...
You're gonna know, and we're not gonna know.
Right, but if it's not correct, it's not approved. I mean, if the grading plan doesn't meet the grading plan...
I'm not in favor of letting this gentleman walk out of here without everybody on this board knowing that it is 100% correct. And if that takes another work session, I think that's a responsible thing to do.
No, it doesn't, I'm just telling you guys I believe that they need to provide a new as-built of what's done now, showing the current grades. And I also believe that you guys need to entertain a waiver from the development standard for the driveway slope to allow him to have a 12% slope on his driveway. His curb is, driveway at the curb is correct. Just from the curb to the garage is over their 8% max.
So
and then obviously
what
the
does
grading
that...
situation is up to you guys, but my recommendation is he provides us with a new as-built showing exactly what's there today, that we can verify that those grades, Luke can verify, we can verify that that stuff does meet the...
We have to have an accurate as-built anyway, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We would have to have that.
That's
What does that...
Yeah, an accurate as-built.
What does that height of that driveway, how does that affect the subdivision, the water drainage, that house? I mean, what does that do? Everybody's talking grade. What does the grade do?
Essentially, his driveway is probably 8 to 12 inches above the garage floor would be, so it's affecting the slope of his personal driveway, and the front yard now has got a little bit more slope to it but all the water is draining to the north. I don't feel that the driveway slope negatively impacts anything other than his property.
But the specifications haven't been met. That's why.
That's why he's here for the relief.
That's the way, that's the way it's needed from you guys.
Last Wednesday, we saw muddy water running down the ditch from this property into the storm drains. I heard this gentleman here talk about Mr. Carey's walkout basement causing problems. Did Mr. Carey ever get issued MS4 violation for his house?
No.
Okay. Was there any MS4 any issuances of fines or violations to Mr. Dykema after the last,
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he's been fined.
I'm talking about Wednesday after the meeting, when we saw the video, okay.
Okay, well, just right there, we need a letter, approval letter from town engineer that the grades are sufficient to meet the town ordinances, even if they don't meet the site plan drawings.
The grades will meet the original site plan drawings. The only thing that's gonna change is the driveway slope and the elevation of the top of the foundation wall.
Okay.
The grading plan is there, within reason. And again, we don't have the final document to verify.
And what is the harm of going through another work session to make sure that this is?
You guys are, it makes no difference to me. I'm just telling you, what this board needs to do is consider granting or denying or whatever a driveway slope waiver, and Lou could do the math. I mean, on that 12% versus 8% and 30 feet, what are you looking for height? You're the engineer.
I get out my calculator.
I mean, whatever, I'm guessing that it's about a foot, but I'm not.
I was gonna say inches, but,
Yeah, inches.
Well, I think best case scenario, in 2 weeks, we're gonna have a list of answers and maybe a list of questions.
Well, the north side yard, only in the middle, because both ends were correct, because they drained one to the curb and and then the other, there's a structure in the backyard, so even at the previous meeting, that was met. There was only a 5 1/4 inch hump in the middle, which it appears, I did see some elevations that they're within plus or minus a tenth, but again, that's not an engineer drawing, and he's already got it seeded and it's sloped, so that issue of the drainage.
Yeah,
An
well,
engineer drawing is all you really need, but that's gonna be required when you,
yeah, well,
when they finish up their building.
we saw some really good pictures last time we were here up on this property. And
There's
I
even
know,
better ones.
and I know exactly what you're talking about.
So if he met the grade, he doesn't have to be here for this
No,
item.
he's only here for the driveway. That's really.
It's
the
not
only
here, it's not on the
purpose
agenda.
Huh?
There's no driveway on the agenda.
You are correct. That is what should be on the agenda.
No, it's not even ready for a public meeting, he's here for the wrong thing.
Well, everybody needs to put their eyes on this, including,
Says the petitioners requesting relief of permitted plot of survey grades as noted by final survey, location report.
Which includes the driveway.
Huh?
Which includes the driveway. Now, maybe it should have been driveway specific, but it does include the driveway in that definition.
All right, where's the report?
It was the survey that was provided previously, and it should be in the packet now. It's just, we've got so much in the packet, I'm trying to find it, but it was the end survey. I mean, we have all the information, so we just added more to it.
This thing just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
There is no relief being sought for the subdivision grades.
It's only the
The grading plan, when we first met out there and discovered this situation, it was asked for Mr. Dykema to reach out to DBG and ask for a revised grading plan that would kind of intermediate between what was approved and what he had. DBG said the revised grading plan is the grading plan for the subdivision that was originally done, and that's what he needs to meet.
Mr. Rushing, what's the best way to,
Proceeded
what's
on
the
with-
safest and most responsible way to handle this situation?
If you go to 36.
Come back next
I asked
month.
Mr. Rushing, thank you.
Come back next month with it properly noticed, properly documented, completely reviewed, review report. We also have not heard from Mr. Maish what his proposed solution is, indicated in his opening to you. If they were here to solve or still provide solutions. We really haven't heard anything.
Going back to the original variance application, and here again, we didn't prepare the agenda, so we aren't responsible for what title was put on. But I'm looking at the variance application, and the variance requested was the slope of the driveway exceeds 8%. So it was seeking a variance from the 8% requirement. And was not about drainage and grade. I mean, as a practical matter, Cedar Lake, like every other town in Lake County, Indiana, and probably across the whole country, requires that before you get your occupancy permit, you submit an as-built survey. I mean, those are not normally reviewed by the plan commission, those are not reviewed by, you know, the actual town boards. I mean, they're reviewed by the building department.
Town
That's
council.
the part. So I don't know what's going on here, you know, why all of this.
What's going on here is we're trying to figure out what's going on, number one. Number two, you want us to grant a waiver for the driveway, but I don't know what the engineer says about it. I want his report, I want his letter or something saying that the way the driveway is now is okay.
There's so
That's
much,
simple,
there's been
that's
so many,
simple.
so
I don't
many.
wanna hear about anybody else's problems or anything else. I wanna get this solved, get off my desk.
John?
Does the engineer need any more information from us in order to prepare that type of report for this body?
And new as-built.
Yeah, as-built.
Well, I mean, that's just the driveway though.
No,
You want an as-built that shows the current elevation of the driveway.
the driveway elevations are not changing. They haven't changed.
Okay, so you want us to get it updated now where it is and get that to you and then.
For the next work session.
Okay.
Why do we have to go to the next work session?
So you can receive documents that are reports that have objective information in it to prepare. That's why.
So should I go to the next work session?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I assume this grade of the driveway
John?
is the grade of the driveway because it's got to reach the lip of the garage. It can't be fixed, even if you tear it out.
The garage floor is too high.
So in other words, you have to have the waiver to
Exactly.
open
Only
it up.
option is to tear out the garage floor and lower it and re-pour it. But yeah, that's a huge deal.
Well, it just seems like we're letting, time after time again, they don't follow the plans. Well, we need a waiver because messed up, we don't want to tear it out. So you have to give us a waiver. This isn't the first one.
That's why they're here.
I mean, it's coming to bad habits. I mean, why can't we?
Everybody else gets it right, for the most part.
Do you know how much that would be if you figured out some math or no?
4 inches.
So if the garage floor was 4 inches lower, it'd be at 8%.
I think so, yeah.
30 feet. So there you have it. If the garage floor was 4 inches lower, it would be at 8%.
Is that structurally possible to do?
That's what Luke was telling me.
Can you lower the garage floor on a foundation that's already existing?
Not easily.
What, 8%?
The footing for the garage floor is still at about 4 feet, right, underground?
Well, I can't see him lowering that anyway other than tearing everything out and all kinds of.
It's not going to look aesthetically pleasing.
How do you want this on the next agenda?
Pardon?
How do you want this on the next agenda for the next work session?
With all the proper documentation and what he's actually here for.
So the next work session is gonna be specifically for the driveway slope, or slope of the driveway.
Unless something else presents itself in the meantime.
Don't we need to
Well,
for the property?
I'd like Luke to be able to review the as-bills,
Okay.
the report on that.
We want the as-bills for everything given to Luke before the next work session.
Yes, yes, please.
You understand that for the whole, or
I understand.
to wrap this up?
Yeah, well, do you need any other information to do a computation as to what impact there is on drainage by this minor difference in variance? I mean, you sit here today, the fact that it's a tiny bit higher, is that in any way impacting, is it draining a little bit quicker, is that an issue?
The driveway, are you talking about just the driveway?
Just the driveway, yeah.
It drains a little bit quicker, but it's pretty negligible.
Okay, do you need any calculations from DLZ or anything on that, or?
No.
No, okay, just want to make sure of that.
Sir, when you anticipate having those as-bills to review?
We'll have to get DLZ, and as soon as we get them out there. try to put a rut on it.
Luke, how much time?
You mean
do you
DVG?
need?
You mean DVG?
Okay.
DVG,
Okay.
yeah.
Russian is what's
No,
caused,
DLC.
Russian and not planting is what's caused the issue, so
Pardon?
you need it in a month. You need Russian and not planting is what's caused the issue to begin with. So putting a.
No, I
Mr. Dykeman, the as-built Luke needs 1 day prior to the next work session to review this.
We'll get it to you just.
The next work session will be the first Wednesday in August. So the first Wednesday in August. So the day before that, we will need the as-built.
Is that the 7th?
Okay.
So then if those as-built are approved by, town engineer,
You know.
So that packet, the packet would have to go out the 1st though, right? August 1st?
I don't know when the next meeting.
I got a question. That's Friday, Friday before the meeting? Yeah. Friday, yeah.
Well, how much time do you need?
A day, 1 day.
So that would get you enough time for review it before.
I got a question for the building department.
August 1st.
Yeah.
Jim or Mr.
Yes,
Conlon? If that driveway was up to snuff, there would be no trouble, he wouldn't have to be here, right?
Oh, I mean, there's been a whole lot of them.
That's why he was sent here, correct. He would have still been in the same boat because of the, but he's, yeah, you are correct.
All right, fine, because that explains a lot of stuff, because that's not what was discussed at the last meeting. It was all about the grade on the one side of the house. There was nothing really said about the driveway, so enough said. You know what you have to do, we know what we have to do.
Yeah, and your contact information, are you with are you in-house here or?
No, I work for a consultant. I can give you my contact info.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay?
You can go over there and he'll give you a.
I'll get it, yeah.
You're welcome.
Perfect, yes.
Okay, new business. M&L Adventure LLC, rezone and preliminary plat. Owner M&L Adventure LLC, care of Bislaw, petitioner Bislaw LLC, 12632 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. City of 10708, West 133rd Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Parcel ID 451528126022000014 and 451528126017000014.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Petitioner is requesting a preliminary plat and planned unit development rezone, request and discussion waiver granted on February 4, 2025 by town council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nathan Vitz here on behalf of the petitioner, 12362 Wicker Avenue. My client, Mike, is, I believe, still on.
I am.
Yep, Mike's still here. So we are here this evening seeking a rezone from the existing zoning. It's a mixture of some R2 and I believe B1 to a PUD. This is to be known as the CL Gateway PUD. And for those of you, we've, I think, been before you before on this, but there's a couple of new faces again. This is across from the grocery store here in town, La Gaviota, right across the street alongside the railroad tracks. You can notice some trees chopped down over there, mowing gone on. There's been a for sale sign up there. What I've just handed out is there's been a slight tweak from, I guess it's more than a slight tweak. From what was from what was originally submitted.
Nathan, is this the same that I had sat before me tonight?
That's the large version.
That's the larger version, yes.
That's the larger version. That one's better on the eyes, Mr. Carnahan.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we have been in active conversations with a couple of nationwide folks that are very highly interested in this space, as well as we had been before you before. My client had been interested in expanding on that metal pole building that was out there, expanding that, to develop that into a dance studio. As we continue to work with engineers as well as with a couple of nationwide consultants who have some tenants that are interested in coming in, last week they came back and said, you know what, the best use of this space is to eliminate that metal pole building that's out there and increase the size of the proposed one building that would be out there. So with that, how that changed everything is we used to have the proposed retention pond located on the, if you're looking at the back side of the property towards 133rd, the retention pond was on the left side running parallel. Now instead, and I think this is a better design that has been come up with, is the retention pond would be along the back side, providing really an expanded buffer between this new lot and the residential, which is behind it.
That's gonna incorporate the low property that's there now where the stormwater runs.
Exactly, yep, exactly, Mr. Wilkman, yep. So, again, it's very fast moving because we're working with a lot of different consultants, as Mike can attest to. Mike's on the East Coast right now with a bunch of local folks in a dance competition, so he could be with us this evening, but he's here to help answer any questions. But that is the new design, and then Luke, what's going to be following for site plan is additional calculations and stuff for your review. Also, per our last concept plan discussion, Mr. Austin from the back, his voice spoke up and suggested that there be a PUD because of the kind of uniqueness of this property. So what I'd like to do is just take us through Exhibit D, and this is far less detailed than the last PUD that I was just here discussing. We'll take us through that. The type of zoning that we are requesting for this particular parcel is going to be any mixture of what you currently allow in B1 or your B2. So as we look at page 6 and page 7 of the proposed new zoning, it's just, I'm wrapping my arms around your B1 and your B2 categories is in essence what we are doing here. That includes anything from retail to office space. I mean, everything that's in your B1 and B2 is allowed in here. The other item that I've worked into this, per your request on page 8, is a recognition that you have a water moratorium. So one of your concerns that you had expressed to me previously, as well as the town council, was, well, what happens if, say, you get a high water usage client? I think an example was, what if you have like a laundromat or something like that? So what I've worked into the PUD is that anyone that may negatively affect the existing water moratorium use would have to come before you and get approval to be put in there. Eventually, hopefully, that can be extracted from this PUD, but per your request, I have put that in here. Knowing that this is a concern that Mr. Kubiak would raise, I've suggested on page 9 that the lot would be allowed up to 60% structure lot coverage, which is typical for your B1 and your B2 use. Recognizing its kind of unique area, what I'm suggesting here is that we waive the requirement for there to be any foliage screening whatsoever on the side that faces the railroad track. So there is a lot that is located adjacent to the railroad track that is kind of a lot that's unknown as to the ownership. I've shared this with you before. It dates back to the 20s and 30s.
It's lost.
It's lost. It's, I think, the Chesapeake Bay Company that is last known as the owner of it. But all that aside, I mean, the existing owner, the prior owner, the owner prior to that, if you look back at the historical photographs.
Why it hasn't ended up on a tax sale, I can't figure out.
Well, Mr. Holubowski and I are on our second property this past week of finding lots that are not on the tax rolls. So maybe we can add this one to be a third. But
how convenient for the owners.
Happens. I've got one myself.
Right. Until that, what we'd like to do, Mr. Parker, is just waive the requirement for any screenings on that side. It just doesn't make sense. The other place that we're looking to waive screenings is on the opposite side of the railroad tracks. There's an existing commercial business also zoned for commercial use. We're asking that we waive the need for screenings on that side as well.
Are you talking for the glass shop?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Is he okay with that?
We would have a conversation with him. I know my client's already talked to him. Mike, have you had that conversation with the adjacent owner?
That's B3.
No, we've never talked about screening because
B3 doesn't need screening?
Until, earlier, we had the.
Black shop is 23.
On that side.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're business to business, so.
So it's not a requirement.
Well, we're a PUD, so that's why it's a little, because we're in the PUD.
Why, I guess my question that comes to mind is why wouldn't we just consider this a B2 and move on?
Because of all the other things they want.
Well, there's not much more that we wanted. The critical reason that we wanted a PUD up until last week Friday was because we were in multiple
Dance studio.
businesses on site as well as dance studio. It was mainly the multiple businesses and multiple buildings on site.
Right.
But now we're down to one
One
building,
building with B2 uses.
right, which encompasses B1. Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, eliminating the whole, I mean, I can understand with the other building, I got it, but now, it seems like you're reverting back to a typical normal B2 use and a lot less, you know, I mean, just a lot easier thing to achieve, I would imagine. And if you don't want any, crazy, I mean, you're asking for stuff that's in a B1 and B2 use, correct, or anything different, or?
No, for the most part, we are. Building height is 30 feet with architectural improvements up to 35. There's already sidewalks that are out there. Lighting would meet your standards. The only other variance or change would be signage. We're asking for a bit more signage than what may normally be allowed.
You want the new sign?
Well, we're asking for two different signs. One, a monument sign that would be for the businesses that are there. And then separately, we're requesting that we can also put an electronic sign on the side that's closer to the railroad tracks, in a size that's not to exceed 300 square feet. So recognizing all of that, Mr. Kubiak.
The sign on the building that you're asking about would not exceed how many square feet? 300 square feet?
The electronic would be 300 square feet, and then the monument sign would be a total of 130 square feet. Yep.
How big?
10 by 30.
Yeah, please check those numbers.
Yep.
Please check that.
No, that's accurate, right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I guess here's the thing, what we're talking about is not a sign on the side of a building. What I'm looking to have approval to be able to do is to put an electronic billboard up in that space. Much like what over by the Burger King, but it would be a small, I think it would be smaller than that. I imagine it more of the size of the McDonald's billboard that's by the high school. You know, something more of that size.
So is this to advertise more than the business?
12 by 24 or something like that with small ones. So this is a leasable billboard space, nothing to do with the building? Correct.
Correct, yep.
I mean, to be frank with you, my intent is to be able to use it for tenants and for city events. There's things that go on in the city that I think it would be great to be able to use that for. But yeah, it's a billboard, it's not like a sign on the side of the building.
So this is two businesses
Would
on
that
one
be another
property now.
use, would that be another use, Dave?
Sure would.
It would.
Sure would.
Because I went through that with a piece of property, about those logos and
You'll see that it's laid out, regulated in the sign, chapter of the zoning ordinance.
So it should fit into the zone.
What's that? Right, or you just have a sign variance. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So Nathan, if the screening, any waiver of the screening, what are you doing on the south side, along the top of the retention pond for screening? What would you put there?
Yep. What I have suggested, Mr. Wilkening, is on page...
Well, my iPad's not giving me pages.
Okay.
So,
let me find it, I have it in front of me here.
I'm sure it's operator error.
All the stuff on the iPad has a detention pond on the west.
Yeah. That would be underneath section 9. There would be, rear yard would be screened from abutting residential lot by an initial strip of planting no less than 4 feet in height, not less than 2 feet in width. Such planting initially consists of not less than 50% evergreen material scattered throughout. So that would be on the backside to start with, would be minimum 50% coverage, at least 4 feet. Greenery to start with so that it can grow together.
How many square feet is this building in total? So I don't have to squint.
Mike?
11,000.
11,000 square feet.
Yeah, 22.
might be like 11,004, but 11,000.
I think, back to the screening, when screening is done, I personally think, I personally think it should be complete when it's done, not wait till arborvitae's grow for the next 4 or 5 years and fill in and those other kinds of things. So, those are my thoughts.
The screening or this?
What a real tree. Not measure from the bottom of the pot to the top of the tree, from the grade to the top of the tree.
Are you suggesting screening in between businesses?
I'm suggesting screening between, on the south property line, Bob.
Okay.
On the residential
Yeah, where
side.
it's residential.
Yeah.
Oh.
I agree.
That's been done before. That was done on the, Richfield business property.
Yeah. When I measure 4 feet, it's from it's not including the pot, it's at the base.
Yep, but it still has to grow to get to the 6 foot.
Right.
You need a waiver for the screening on both sides, though, because of the PUD.
Correct. Correct.
And I think enhancing the south side, so it's complete, done, ready to go, I think that would, be very appealing. To me, it would be.
Is that doable?
Yeah, you get 7 foot arborvitae, put them in the ground.
I was asking him.
He knows.
The reality is that, I think that they're putting in those things already on that side.
They are?
Yeah, I mean, last time I was there, they have some built. I'm not telling you it's gonna go all the way across, I've not spoken with, Chris about what they're doing, but last time I was over there, yeah, I saw some arborvitae, like, in line along his border, so he may be doing that himself in order to.
So, yeah, so that's what Mike's talking about, the next door neighbor. I think, Mr. Parker, what you're talking about is to include in the plan that you'd like to see a density that's in excess of the 50%, and you don't want it that they have to wait a couple of years to grow up together. Now, arborvitaes, they can come in 4, 6, 8 typically. I've planted way too many in my life. And I guess my question would be, yeah, your code calls for 6. You're at about, I don't think it's necessary to start that big right away, because you're already looking at a hump hill.
But if you put
infrastructure.
if you put a fence up, it would be done, right?
A fence, yeah, if you want that aesthetic of it, and I think that's.
Well,
what
there's a
we're
lot of
trying to
nice
avoid.
fences too, but I think the trees are cheaper.
I think the trees look better. And they're not as susceptible, I mean, everything's susceptible to wind damage, but.
I will come back, and increase that.
I'm okay with the waivers on the east and west side
So,
for the training.
How many businesses are gonna be in that building?
Is it still 2?
No. No, so if I had a globe that I could look into and let you know, I would let you know. It's unknown. Like I said, we're looking at 1 or 2 national tenants that are looking to be on the exteriors of them. But there's the possibility for up to, what, 5 or 6, Mike?
I mean, I think the most that you could imagine is 7, but you would hope that, somebody's gonna do more than, 20 foot across, right? So I think the, expected length of the building is about 156. So, I don't think you're gonna get 8. I'd say it's gonna be about 7 would be the most that you would expect to be in the building.
7 businesses?
And a 20-foot frontage. But they could rent, you could have one take 3 of them. So he's gonna have it in sections.
I see.
Like, for example, the Havenwood on 41 in St. John. Like
How do we calculate parking on that?
It's per business, for the types of businesses, and then your parking lot ratios are figured into the types of businesses that are there.
Okay, so it's still.
He did take worst-case scenario into effect,
On the
and he
backside.
still had 6 left over.
What kind of an ADU is this?
We have an example of worst case scenario.
Okay.
that include the AD?
Business center needs to be.
So is it like competitive or?
Yeah, so if the dance studio goes in, this would be like, it'd be a moving from the one that's right down the street, near, Mike, where's your bride, is right next to the
I mean,
Burger
I
King?
think if the dance
Where
studio
Evolution
is
was.
located, it would probably be,
That's where it's at now.
an auxiliary location, so it'd be a second location. I don't think, frankly, the financials of doing this, I don't think we can afford to move the whole thing. So First Studio currently is, next to Culver.
They're gonna have dance studio and up.
No, no more two-story, no more two-story. Yep.
Yeah, that was the original intention, but we've been through a lot of stuff on this thing, and this is kind of where we're at.
So it's a one-story building.
Yep, one-story building.
No drive-throughs anymore, or yes?
No, there is still the opportunity for the drive-throughs.
Yeah, I think the hope was with the design that, you know, theoretically you could have two. You have one on the one side for a, you know, real hardcore drive-through option, and on the right side, so.
That's kind of putting the cart before the horse, we gotta see that.
That second level of.
That's kind of a backside.
That's
kind of a back, the drive-throughs are kind of a backside thing now, you don't know what the end use is gonna be, correct?
Yeah, so the drive-throughs are allowed in your B2. We're in talks, like I said, with the national company.
You don't know if you need them yet or not.
Yeah, odds are we will, because that's one of the type of clients that we're looking for to put in there. So that's why we wanted to space and put the building where it's at, to allow for the spacing that they want for people to back up, so to speak, to be in line. And this current design allows for that, the stacking they call it.
It's difficult to anticipate.
So we could have one on the east side and one on the west side of drive-through?
Potentially, yep. And that's similar to...
It's gonna be tough to get to the one on the east side.
Well, if you look at, if you've driven past St. John Commons, it's on Calumet, that's kind of the style and design. You've got the ability to have drive-through on one side or on either side, potentially.
I mean, a lot of times what would be on that west side would be, let's say, what are really you know, where it's more of like a pickup location than it is something, or if you did a Subway or something like that, where they may order right there, but there's not really a giant queue, because most people aren't ordering from their car.
We already have one.
A car to go to the east side pickup window or order, they have to come in and go through the west side drive-through, around the back of the building, and then,
It's not new to Cedar Lake. We have one where the Big B Coffee is right now, and the Mexican restaurant in the new development. We have a style similar to this, where you have on both sides. This isn't new concept.
Even Pop really doesn't have anything.
I got a good point, you just gotta spell out what you want.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to come back on some of this stuff. This is conceptual, right? You're gonna have to come back on some of this stuff once you determine what the end use is gonna be, right?
Well, I wish I could tell you who the tenants are gonna be. We don't know. And that's why I've just got B1 and B2 zoning. It's tenants that fall within those categories that can fit within here.
Won't those businesses be here to see us anyway?
Yeah. Each one will be here.
Yeah, each one will be here to see us. Each business will be here to see us?
This is completely speculative, so you're assessing.
That's my problem.
Trying to back in, I struggle Nathan's having, because he doesn't know either yet.
No, it's like any of the developments you see on 41 in St. John. You build the shell, and you're seeking the tenants that are...
And then we have to sort it out here.
Right, I would think that's a good problem to have, and that's why we have zoning to say...
I'm not opposed to having the problem, I just wanna make sure we get a crack at it.
Yeah.
They have, chapter 17, they have to come here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So trying to hit the moving target is gonna be tough.
That's
Getting
my
it lined up
problem with
as
you.
clearly as possible.
You guys.
I thought I have a problem.
Sure.
What it is
I
that,
actually still think that.
I guess, what are some of the outstanding issues that you're concerned with, like, that, I mean, what we're trying to do here is that, I wouldn't say that that's complete, but kind of that's where we wanted to kind of move from, and whether we have somebody that uses that drive-through or not, we wanted to be able to build it so that we could be an option for that kind of a tenant. Or any, I mean, if it ended up being a Pop, you know, hey, this is where the queue would be for your drive-through. You know, you may not need 14
take for 14 cars in your view, but, so what we're trying to do is kind of contemplate what could be in these places and make sure that the site plan reflects that. So we're not asking you guys for something kind of weird, you know,
No, and I think, Mike,
front or
This-
inside.
Mike, I think this is no different than Summerwinds, right? We've got 2 beautiful buildings at Summerwinds, we've got 12 different businesses that are located there. You build the structure, the businesses come in, it's a wide variety of restaurants, coffee shops, medical, you name it. All we're asking for is...
That's fine, but he doesn't know if he's gonna have 2 businesses or 7. We wanna know the number of businesses. Number 1. Number 2, is that gonna be an order window or pickup window?
And I guess if we've provided for an in and an out that from an engineering standpoint makes sense, that's safe for stacking, number 1. And number 2 is the uses fit the existing zoning code, and number 3 is there's sufficient parking for all of those. I wish I could, my client would love it because then he can forecast it.
I'm not trying to be hard on
Yeah.
your client, it's just hard to visualize.
No, I get it, I know exactly what you're saying.
What's easy to visualize is the neighbors to the south not knowing the building's there because you went over the top with the screening back there. That's easy to visualize.
I will get on top of that and get specificity for you, Mr. Wilkie.
But now, is it gonna be an order window, these drive-throughs, or a pickup window?
I would anticipate it's pickup.
Just anticipate, but, because if it's gonna be an order window, where are you gonna put the board, the menu board?
Folks smarter than me, architects.
Sorry, did you say the ordering?
Hey, you guys brought it up. We gotta ask the questions.
We know there's an ordering board because we're dealing with that at the roundabout.
Be along the backside of the building,
Yeah.
because the people that we're looking at have standard, that's exactly where they would want that building.
All right, well, he doesn't have the tenant yet, so we're just
I think
talking
you need a
right now.
variance for a 12-foot arborvitae.
Let's move on off to drive-throughs.
12-foot.
Do you want arborvitae's or you want a fence?
Yeah, I want the neighbors seeing the order board on the back of the building.
So what do you want?
Hey,
I don't want them to see it, I don't care what he puts up there. Something builds a wall.
Well, I think that's where lighting comes in handy as well, so. Okay. Is there any other concerns that you want me to build into this that we haven't talked about that you've seen in others? I try to be all-inclusive.
Getting rid of the building back there is a good idea.
Yeah. And you're gonna try to clean up the lost parcel too, or you wouldn't be talking how about, right?
Dan and I have spent many an hour talking about this one, so we would love, well, we'll talk offline about that one. Yeah, but this is step 1.
Maybe not.
Yeah, because there's mutual benefit for the town as well.
It is.
To mutually acquire that. Yep. And I think we have, necessary
No.
we have necessary documents for prescriptive action as well. We've taken that account, so.
Okay.
Okay.
all righty.
We'll continue working on it, we'll get you revisions, and we'll see you again in August.
Fair enough.
Okay, thanks. Mike, I'll call
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, update items. Number 1, Cynthia Bay, Boyer Construction, performance letter of credit in the amount of $71,467 to expire on July 19, 2025. And this letter is
July 19th?
I don't know, let's just give it to us. July 1st, it says.
Yeah.
What's going on, anybody know?
Talked to Bruce at Boyer Construction, and he, obviously, his letter states his plan. They want to try to get the work done in that timeline for the 19th. I already told him, I said that he needed to have a new bond in place promptly, and I was hoping to have it by now, but he's changed his mind and said, hey, I think I can get it all done by the 19th. He's got, 2 items that are left on that item,
think it's technically 3. I think there's 2 signs and some thermal plastic pavement markings.
Yeah, so it's,
So we gotta set,
Decorative
set,
signs.
we have to set a pull date just in case it doesn't happen, is that what you're saying?
I think so. I would say that would be the prudent thing to do. He's trying, I guess he's trying to be a good businessman. I didn't agree to this whatsoever, but, what's that?
When's the next meeting date?
July 12th,
16th is
So that would be, I mean, that's enough time to do it then if you need to, right?
Is it?
I was told 5 days.
Well, they can't make a motion on a work session anyway, so.
No,
I mean,
No, you can't.
but I was gonna have the documentation for it.
You'll have enough time. Center Bank project, Center Bank is bank, I mean, we know where to drive to, we don't have to go to Muncie or Timbuktu or wherever.
Yeah.
Probably get it on a day's notice.
So the next meeting, it needs to be on there and.
Right.
Okay.
And he states in the letter that if he can't get it done, I guess the delivery of the poles is the issue,
Yeah.
okay? And that's what he wants to try to do. It's striping in the entrance. I think he put his striping in the wrong location, right, Luke?
That state stuff is not done, he will.
Yeah, it's not thermal, and it's in the wrong location.
And I guess, I just wanna make this comment to you, Luke, like on these new plans coming up along 133rd, we have that decorative sign pole requirement, and it seems like we're getting to the end of, we're still fighting with culvers. But we need to really be aware of that in these early reviews and make sure that somehow that it's documented on these plans that those are standard black decorative poles for all those stop signs and signs along the main road. So just something to have in your mind, because it seems like so far every person that's done something there, we've come to the end and we're battling like they didn't know, or, you know what I mean, it just kind of gets overlooked. Obviously, there's a lot to look at, but just something
Okay, no, roger that.
What is the estimated cost of the work at Center?
it's not very much, probably
Okay, number 2, Beacon Point East.
$3,000, $2,500.
So it's not 71,000 anymore?
Yeah.
No, it seems like we're catching the remnants of the last of the projects.
Yeah, they've been very,
Grand on Perez.
and these poles are not easy to, you can't just go to Home Depot and buy one of these poles.
Well, that's the problem, kind of counting on getting something delivered. There's still supply chain issues, and there's some things that are still way behind.
Well, we'd be owed cash, so.
And he was told to provide one, if he was not gonna meet the deadline, so.
It's pretty minimal.
It's not Bruce's first service, so.
Okay, number 2, Beacon Point East, Unit 4. Performance letter of credit in the amount of $359,608.00 to expire on July 25th, 2025. Luke, you got any comments on that?
Yeah, so this one, there are some outstanding items. There's a fence that needs to be installed. Apparently, it just came in. They were waiting on it. They're gonna put it in. We have an outstanding as-built letter that has some minor items. We actually just heard from their engineer today. They're gonna shoot some additional topo. They don't think there's any issues with, over the next 2 weeks, getting that knocked out. So it seems reasonable that this would roll over into a maintenance letter of credit, by the time this expires.
Okay, we can deal with that next meeting, which is on the 16th, so.
Got time on that one.
Yeah. Number 3, Rose Garden Estates, Unit 3, performance letter of credit in the amount of $1,913,079.85 to expire on August 22nd, 2025. You got anything on that, Luke?
Yeah, I think, and I know Tom's on the Zoom, but.
Yeah, we have a representative here, too.
He had sent over some as-bills to me last week, which we're still chewing on. I think there'll be some field inspection portions of this as well. So we're still kind of working through that. So I don't really know where we stand, but we do have a little bit of time since it expires on August 22nd. So Tom, I guess I'll let you chime in on
Yeah, that, no, that is up for all renewal. We will certainly have an extended letter of credit before the expiration date. Luke is correct, the latest record drawing comment letters that CVAL has provided, sent over the response from Mackey, so then Luke is reviewing it, and once we're ready, we can do a field inspection for those. We've also, just a little update for the site, we did receive the second, we'll call it block of inspection items from Public Works last Wednesday. Crews have been on site addressing the comments from the first block of comments as well as the second block, and we'll be ready for reinspection of those first two blocks the week of 7/14. Waiting on the final block of items. Public Works thinks that they should have that to us in the next 2 weeks or so. We have also had a change of personnel. We have Dennis Mayer as our Director of Land Development. He is now taking over the field items for Rose Garden. I know that he has met with a couple of homeowners out there that have voiced their concerns in the past and have continued to voice concerns. He's working with them to make sure that they are happy. I think that when he sat down and he talked with them, I think that a lot of their concerns is coming from miscommunication with the homeowners association. So we have certainly recommended that they attend the homeowners association board meetings. They voice their concerns with that, and we are certainly reaching out to the management company to make sure that our residents' concerns are addressed. So that is my update for this time. If there's any questions, please feel free.
So do we have a finish line date?
Well, I'm still waiting on the final block of inspection, the final block of comments from Public Works. I know that they've been a little bit tight in terms of manpower, so the first block of comments that we received pretty much corresponded with phase 1. The second block of comments that we received covered most of phase 2, and I believe that the third and final block should cover the rest of phase 2 and phase 3. So as soon as we have them, we can have crews out there working and be able to complete those. So I will coordinate with Wendy, like I said, the week of July 14th. I would like to have a re-inspection in the field for the comments for those first 2 blocks provided by Public Works. And once Luke indicates that they've been able to review the responses to the comments on the record drawings, we'll make ourselves available as soon as we're ready to have a field inspection on those items as well.
Okay, anybody got any questions or comments?
Who's doing their landscaping for those berms in townhomes?
The maintenance or the restoration of the berms?
Either, because that's what a lot of them were coming in complaining about.
They were, and a lot of the complaints that we were made aware of was they were looking for a mowing schedule. They were looking for schedules on when mulch beds would be refreshed, and they have not been getting any answers from the management company. So that is something that we are addressing with the management company. Quite frankly, the management company has no problem accepting their checks for dues. They had better be able to answer questions that the residents have. So we are stepping in with the management company to make sure that all of our residents' concerns are addressed. We'll be able to give them the mowing schedule, the refreshing of mulch beds. A lot of that has to do with the operating budget that the HOA has. They might elect to do certain phases. They might do, put it on a 2 or 3 year rotation where maybe, 1 year the mulch is refreshed for phase 1. The next year we do phase 2, the next year for phase 3, and then that would be on a repeating loop. So those are the type of questions that as we sat down and really talked with the homeowners, it was very, very discouraging to hear that they were not getting answers to very simple questions. So we are putting them to bat. We'll make sure that they are happy with the performance of the management company. They do have the option at any time to elect a new management company, and we have let the current management company know that. So the work that we are doing, we've got a combination of T&T landscaping is covering the majority of, Down to Earth Environmental is taking care of the seeding portion of it. They're companies that have really performed well for us in terms of seed blanket applications. We've got Redwood Landscaping doing some of the tree replacements and then just making sure that any dead material is not dead.
All right, thank you. Okay, well, I guess we'll see you next month.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 4, Centennial Villas, Phase 2, performance letter of credit in the amount of $103,940.34 to expire on September 5th, 2025. Anything on that, Luke?
Yeah, this one, we're actually working up a punch list right now for, so we'll see how that shakes out, but, you know, September 5th is the expiration date, so we don't see that as being any major issues. That'll just be another one of those that just rolls into maintenance if everything goes to plan, and it seems like that's pretty doable.
Sounds good.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
If we're done with Centennial, I would like to ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
For the building department, Mr. Dykema stated in the last meeting that he was going to owner occupy that residence when it was completed. You believe that to be the case?
I have no idea.
Is there any legal ramifications for him misrepresenting that, if that is the case?
If you can prove that he's not telling you the truth, yes.
Because there's obviously a sign on the property. He owns a lot next door. The lot next door is gonna be screwed up too. We gotta give him another permit if that's the situation that he's presenting. And here's what, let me finish. Here's what irritates me about this. I'm all about an ambitious person wanting to build a house to live in and building it owner occupied and not having to be a general contractor. But when you have people that come in and misrepresent that and do some kind of jacked up stuff, it leads down the path of eliminating a provision for an ambitious person to build a house owner occupied. That, if that is the case in this situation, it needs to be addressed.
I guess, I mean, I can understand what you're saying, but how is anybody in my position to make that determination until now?
Tim, I'm not.
The one house to build for yourself is the rule, so.
What I'm asking
is
if there legal ramifications that we can hold this gentleman to, or ban him from pulling permits in the future, so we don't have this type of manipulation.
Let me just answer your question, that if he puts this house for sale and sells it, and comes back to build another house for himself, he will not be able to, because he's done his one house to build for himself. He told me, and that he would, whatever the case is, the one house, he's done. So the next house, if he owns another lot, he will need a general contractor to build his house. End of story, done.
What happened if he makes it an Airbnb? He owns it, but it's an Airbnb.
He still cannot, that's still not.
Still his.
He built a house
He built
for
it for
himself to live in. If he wants to build another house for himself to live in, he will need to become a general contractor or hire a general contractor to do his build.
You got anything to add to that, Dave? Is there anything else that can be done?
He admitted on the record in this body, before this body last month, that he was building this for himself. Now, you've got him on record, and that's the commitment he made to you in response to a direct question. So, if it happens, you will not permit further.
Here's what I would rather do. I would rather make an example out of somebody that manipulates it than create a situation where we don't allow people that freedom to build their own home.
And again, after you can't make that determination until it's done. I mean, you can't just have somebody walk in and say, you know what, this guy looks kind of like he's not telling the truth. You
Well,
can't
the
do
sign,
it.
the sign in front is what makes me think he's
Yeah, and
not telling the truth.
I agree, I mean, if I had a crystal ball, I would say you're right, but at the end of the day, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had people flip houses, I've had people come in and say, me and my wife are building, are redoing this house, this is our forever house, we're gonna live here, we're moving in. As soon as their last inspection's done, there's a for sale sign in the front yard and they're selling. When they came back for the next house, you know what happened?
No permit.
Sorry.
That's what I'm at.
Right, same, that happens for everybody, and everybody's only been allowed one, and to me, you know, I think we're pretty consistent, and I know we're consistent, but the same people that come in here to do that one thing, you can't deny, they can't lie to you.
That's the road I don't wanna go down, Tim.
And I feel like-
Because of people that do this.
And there's always a bad situation, and there's always a thing, but we can't make a judgment on that just because a bunch of people say, he's gonna put this for sale as soon as he's done. or-
Here's something I'm sure we agree on. If the general contractor comes in, let's say he bought a lot in that subdivision, general contractor comes in, he builds that house, 99% of the time, you're not gonna have any issues like we're having with this particular instance. Correct?
Let's say 80.
80%?
Yeah.
Well, that's kinda sad.
But it is, but I definitely wouldn't say 99. I mean, 15 years ago, I might have said 99, but today, I would say.
If there's these things, there's other things. I feel sorry for the person that buys that house, and it starts out with issues, and, you know, it's just, I don't, people manipulate things and they ruin it for other people, and I guess that's kind of what's in my thought.
Well, they do that, and then they force you to legislate the exception and not the rule.
That's what I don't want to go down that path.
You might want to also consider beefing up the permit application, so that on building permit applied for, they assert penalties for perjury or however. If it's an owner-occupied, owner-built only, use the language consistent with the current town ordinance, and have them sign it for a notary.
I know, like, Lake County makes you do a test, you know, they meet with you and see that you're capable of building a house or,
Even
you
your
know,
own.
but again, I mean,
I
can pose that as an engineer for 15
I don't want
minutes.
this situation repeated, is all.
It will not be repeated by him unless he obtains the Lake County general contractor's license.
Oh, God forbid that happens.
I mean,
Okay, Tim, you said the driveway's the only thing stopping him from doing anything, right? Now, whether he moves in, but we gotta wait to find out if he moves in or not before we go any further than that.
And that's,
Get
right,
occupancy finalized.
that has no bearing on the building department.
Right.
He told you guys that, that's something between, I mean,
But the driveway's the only main thing holding him up right now.
driveway permit exceeds our town standard of 8%, which needs a waiver from you guys to be allowed for me to be able to grant him an occupancy. Granted, his as-built shows what it needs to.
Well, we could lower it and have a speed bump going in. Right?
You can.
All right, to answer your question, Rick?
Yeah.
I have, while you're all warmed up, Tim, the old Circle O's property, there was a detailed discussion for variances originally. Have you been through there to see what's going on, and when will the north part of the property stop being misused?
The north part of the property will stop being misused by the 7th. That we've met with the person there, and he has until the 7th or starts to pay a $2,500 a day fine. So,
Excellent.
that is when that is. The rest of it, I have not been through recently. I hear that the old goats in the glass shop are moving out.
Yeah.
So.
Has there been any special event permits requested for that property?
No.
No? Okay.
Not
All right.
that I'm aware of. Not that I know of.
Because, I mean, some of that criteria was, nothing happens on the north side of the building. Mr. Frampton got all teed up and he had to leave. No, there were no improvements at all to that property,
That's
zero.
been addressed with, the grand prize guy.
Excellent.
He came in and met with Ben and I.
Okay. Hey, was the building department gonna be giving us some changes that they would like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Town manager's going to.
Okay, all right, I'm done, thank
He wants to address this before you go to public comment.
Okay.
Before the town manager, he's gonna take a little time, I suspect. I have two quick things, if you don't mind. One, the Perez one-lot subdivision letter of credit surety has been collected. That was provided to the clerk after your last meeting. That's why I didn't report on it then. I guess one's enough. I'm done.
Do you need do you need instruction to start reviewing the Friary PUD?
Yeah, I did.
Well, I'm gonna ask that we ask Dave to start reviewing that.
I mean, I concur, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I asked him if he had reviewed it, he hadn't. And I just thought it was a little odd, so. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Ben.
So, Jacob, pass it down.
Tell me when to stop.
That should be it.
One more. No. I was in the line. I finished the last two.
Luke's got one.
You
got one more?
Luke doesn't get one.
Luke doesn't get one, he doesn't count.
But he's gonna get tested on it.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Well, that one.
No, give it back to Luke. So, about a month ago, we asked Michelle to go through our zoning ordinance. 2 weeks. Well, was it 2 weeks? Yeah. You said you'd be done. That's right, 2 weeks. No, 2 weeks ago, we asked Michelle to go through our zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance, I think everybody agrees, is kind of a mess right now. And so, she went through and, put all this together. She omitted stuff that was in there multiple times. She redid some of the wording, pulled from old ordinances. Yesterday, Tim and Michelle and I sat down and went through these and cleaned it up even more. So what you have is just the front page, the highlighted items are all that are included in this packet. So what we're going to do is give it to you guys in sections instead of overwhelming you with all of it at once. And as you read through this, it's not, I really don't want to have a discussion tonight. I want you guys to take your time to read through it. But there's stuff in there that's like highlighted in red, and she left notes for there. Like the rat wall details, just needs more additional information.
Highlighted in yellow?
Red.
Oh.
Well, there's stuff highlighted in yellow too, but stuff in red is where she would like more detail. That's stuff where if you have anything you'd like to add or omit from that. And then there's some other stuff highlighted in red that obviously the wording will need some looking over by legal to make sure that's good. So basically what we're looking for right now is to just get these changes in your hands, have you review them for the next couple of weeks, make any notes, any questions, any thoughts, any additions, omissions, and then we can have a discussion about that at the next work session. In the meantime, Michelle will be working on the next section for you guys to review. We'll hopefully have for you at the work session in August.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
The stuff in yellow is stuff she thinks should be removed, or she's already removed things?
So some of the stuff that we went through yesterday, Tim and Michelle and I went through yesterday, pertaining to the R1, R2, the B1, B2, B3, there's multiple times where there's things listed multiple times in the ordinance, just worded differently, like an antique store, or I'm sorry, like men's clothing, antique men's clothing store. But then there'd be like 2 or 3 references to other types of clothing stores. So we just condensed it to a clothing store. So simple changes like that.
So you guys have already made those changes?
Correct.
Okay,
And those are in here.
all right.
So some of them you'll see,
Well, it's just basically on the list of things that are allowed in
yeah,
B1, B2,
Right.
B, you know, so there was just a lot
Well,
of.
you have that stuff memorized, I don't.
Right, so we just cleaned up the repetition.
right. So if you go to page 48, as an example, variance of use, section D, variance of use, it's in red, but you've got highlighted in yellow, the legal review, with that time comes to do that.
So there was a lot of old-time things in there, sewing, seamstress.
So this is more descriptions.
This is less description.
No, I meant, what you were looking at before was a lot more description.
Broader categories,
Right.
and we looked at the square footage of a 2-story in R2 versus R1.
Like reducing salon, we just changed it to gym facility.
Okay,
Stuff like that.
so you changed the square footage of a 2-story home?
We proposed a change to the first floor being 900 instead of 1,100 in R2, but then in R1, keeping it at the 1,100.
I see.
Just to allow for, you know what I mean, it kind of,
Well, it's gonna help the smaller lots, for legacy lots.
which is R2, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it helps with a lot of these houses for the problem that we're running into with lot coverage, because if you don't have to have an 1,100 square foot first floor and a 3-car garage, let you build a house over the garage, a big thing size house, but it just kind of lets a little more flexibility in our.
So with lot coverage, you're not suggesting changing the square footage of lots?
We haven't went through none of that. We were just trying to
This is
clean
just
up.
the first piece.
Okay,
Yeah.
got
There's
it.
no change. The only thing that I can say that we proposed a change from was that size of the 2-story first floor. That was it. Other than that, it was just clean up of
Repetitive.
redundancy.
I'm gonna have a study part of this. Mr. Recupedo wants to look at some of this as we're going through it too. There's nothing wrong with that, is
You
there?
can have my copy if you want.
Okay, fair enough.
You and Dick are gonna have a study date?
Yeah. There'll probably be some alcohol consumed too.
I like it.
Okay, are we done?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, public comment.
Good evening.
Oh.
Dave Carey, 13463 Beach Place. Thank you for the opportunity to maybe bring some clarity to some of these things that are going on. For months, when I started this project, I met with this board, the Building and Zoning Board, the Town Council, and we set down a site plan. I didn't come back to you guys later and say, oh, I didn't know this, or I didn't do this, and now I'm asking you for a variance or a waiver on that. I followed the site plan. I'm not a developer, but I got educated to what I needed to do to follow that site plan. When I built the houses, I was given a site plan. I followed that site plan. I didn't come back to you and say, I didn't build you the way you told me to, I want a waiver or a variance. That house was built improperly for 2 reasons. First reason was, and Graham excavated it properly, but Mr. Dykema chose to put a 9-foot basement into that house. And that in itself is not a problem if you plan properly and make the adjustments in the initial dig.
In the bottom.
That's correct. So and again, somebody has to be held responsible for this. He wanted to be the general, he's the general. The general's responsible. He did not lower that footing, that foot that he accounted for on making a 9-foot basement. That was the first mistake. The second mistake, and it's clearly marked on the site plan, that garage be dropped 1.5 feet. Not only is it on the site plan, but it also is on the plan for building that house. Now, is it desirable to have 5 steps going from your garage into your house? No. So he made the decision not to lower that garage floor. Therefore, we're stuck now with this slope that doesn't meet our town ordinance. Or now it affects the front elevation of that house. Now, can we get some grades? Now, when I was at this meeting a month ago, Mr. Conley and Mr. Dykeman both said we're within inches of what DVG said needs to be met. I have watched Mr. Dykeman remove 2 to 3 feet in the last week. So how could, last month, we were inches from hitting that grade to removing 2 to 3 feet in the last week? I appreciate what you've done here so that the board can see these actual site plans and make sure these grades are being met. Does it make any sense to remove that floor, remove that driveway? I don't know, that's, you know, if every builder just does what they want and comes back before you and say, oh, I want to build it this way, and now I want a variance, I think Chuck brought this up. It would be chaos here. The other thing I'd like to touch on is Mr. Mace talking about my lot being improperly built. Well, no offense to Luke, but when Don Oliphant was here, he scrutinized every one of those site plans.
I know he did. And
I have a occupancy permit, my site plan met, the, requirements. It was built properly, so I don't know where that comes from, I just wanted to touch on that. The next thing I want to talk about, again, because I just want this done right. And for 3 years, and Tim can testify this, I have been notifying the building department since we got the NOT, and Mr. Mason, we've talked about this before. The developer, developer is responsible for that development. I understand that completely. But when there's one lot that is constantly causing a problem, and I can't control it, or I bring it to the attention to people that can control it, I don't know what else to do. I came several town managers ago and I said, I would like to, before a building permit is issued to anybody in that subdivision, I would like them to bring in a letter of approval from our POA. Because that gave me the right to hold a $5,000 deposit for erosion control. So I could have resolved this problem. When these things were going on, I would have taken that deposit and put the proper erosion control out there. But that, I was not allowed to do that. So that permit was issued and then it fell on the building department. And I know at least 30 times I've talked with Tim about this over the last 3 years. And the sediment pond is almost full right now, and I don't think it's right for, because I'm going to turn this over to the residents of that, the subdivision. I'm going to turn that over. And I don't think it's right that they have to fix that, and I don't think when it comes time for my bond to be due that I have to fix it. When I've constantly, over the last 3 years, and there were things issued to them, but it was never followed through, other than the fine that was given and...
Dave, let me stop you right there.
Yes.
What are we going to do about that?
About the fine?
No, I mean, I know Dave is standing here telling the truth. He has brought it to myself, my attention. I brought it to Tim's attention. And Rich Teal, it's been brought to his attention. We've all talked about this. And I'm just asking a question here. Are we going to let this go all the way down the path and then we're going to stick Dave with repairing that retention pond once again after all this?
Again, I mean, we have cited them, we collected a fine after numerous attempts, I mean.
Well, can you use the fine money to restore the pond?
I would imagine.
$500 they couldn't touch that.
Right, yeah.
So,
hang on.
But at the end of the day, I mean, we police the MS4, I mean, that lot was virtually impossible there was times when it was, I mean, a flash flood, there's mud. I mean, I'm sure there was mud the other day.
I sent a video to everybody on
I've seen the
Thursday.
videos, I've seen stuff in place, I haven't seen absolute neglect from anything. I mean, there was a dirt pile there.
Tim, I think that dirt pile being there I think that does fit the definition of neglect. He could have, and if it was gonna leave it like that, it should have been hauled out.
Agreed, and it finally was, but I mean, we have 30 other houses in town that have the same situations that they do in their time
Right next to the
frames.
pond? Right next to the pond?
I mean,
How about right next to the lake?
And that too.
It goes to the lake, so
I'm referencing a different piece of property, Dave.
goes to the lake.
Because we're gonna have this, I don't wanna get too far out in the weeds here, we're gonna have to resolve this at some point. And here's what just pisses me off. Dykem is in here with the smug look, he's gonna go skating and whistling out of town, built the house, I know he built it under a manipulation. This just goes on and on and on, and this guy that put his heart and soul into this subdivision and making it nice in a crap hole area to start with, he gets stuck with it at the end?
I have a solution.
What's the solution? I'd love one.
Okay, ready? Is there a 9-foot basement in that house? Did he build did he build the wall taller against what was on the plans? What Dave said he did there, did he do that?
if you say there's a 9-foot basement, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, hang on though, hang on. We need, no offense, we need proof of what you said.
Okay, no, sure.
So if he deliberately altered things, Dave says the house plan had this or this or this. If he altered that intentionally, this is no different than the guy in Lakeside over there who was putting those 3 Seasons rooms on, where we couldn't see him, and was in here once. I'm sorry, then he turns around and does it again. He got pretty stiff fine for that, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's the fine money that fixes all this in the end.
You know what?
Was it 75? It was $7,500. He was putting those roofs on. You gave it a value. It cost about this much. He was in here twice. The second time he said, "You'll never see me again."
And I don't remember the amount, but I remember it was a lot.
Dave, is that possible?
Yes.
You know what?
I amaze myself sometimes.
You might have come up with a solution.
I'm having flashbacks. I said, we've done this before.
You have hot flashes?
No, it's flashbacks. PTSD, maybe.
Well,
let's confirm what this gentleman just said.
Yeah, and I can't, until I look,
I don't mean right now.
Let's put all our heads together. We just got a seed for a solution. Let's put all our heads together and come up with a solution and give this gentleman who did something good for the community, give him some relief from this. And Mr. Dykem needs something to get an occupancy permit, whatever the fine is. We need some calculations, folks, and we need to solve it.
He didn't build it per the plan, like Mr. Carey suggested. He deliberately, this is not an accident, it's not oops, he deliberately did it. Just like those 3 Seasons rooms that were, the porches that turned into 3 Seasons rooms.
Now, the downside to all that is...
Are the violations the planning commission's responsibility, or the inspector's, the building department's responsibility?
Building department inspects, and that is my comment to be, we may have to recognize that we did not do everything pristine. We didn't inspect enough, we didn't, whatever. We may find that out.
Yeah.
Well, how much would it cost to shave that driveway in the garage? How much would it cost to shave that, roughly?
A fair amount.
Which is
exactly
the calculation that was used for the 3 Seasons rooms.
I can see $15,000 or $20,000.
Yeah.
Just spitballing.
Can the garage floor be lowered 100%? can that driveway be taken out and put to the proper grade? 100%.
But that's not an end game.
No, we still have the other issue that's been going on for 3 years. And here's the other thing, he comes before you asking for relief. What I'm telling you, he's now using my subdivision as a storage place. He brought all these trailers from Chicago and is storing them now in offshore states, which is against our bylaws, and he knows this, but he says he's not in our subdivision, and is doing this purposely. But he wants to come before you and ask for relief.
We got a zoning ordinance that restricts anything like that?
The house is done. The house is done.
He has a boat trailer in the driveway?
He's got a boat trailer, he's got a jet ski trailer, he's got a dump trailer in the street, and he's got a utility trailer.
Illinois plates?
On some of them.
But and the construction trailers for the construction, and the boat trailers are his I mean, the bylaws that you guys have in your subdivision aren't all.
No, I understand, but I'm just reiterating that he's asking for relief, but yet he doesn't want to abide by the rules.
Right.
Anything that's got Illinois plates on it needs to be addressed. This is Indiana.
Did we ever determine, did you ever do any discovery on that? Because he said he's not part of this HOA?
No.
Okay. I don't know how he can be.
Yeah, well, you know, whether he is a resident isn't our concern. That's concern.
Yes.
If there's anything that allows during the construction time, it's construction trailers, and again, you know, there's friggin' 10 Illinois plate construction trailers over in Beacon and over there, guys working that are parked there, so. I gotta be consistent. If there's something wrong, we'll look at what's out there for town code-wise, but if your bylaws say you can't have a boat trailer, then that's your guy.
So I get it.
Does he have occupancy permit right now?
No.
Mr. Carey, is that lot 8?
It is light.
Okay, according to the county, the legal description is offshore estates, lot 8.
Of course.
Ryan Dykema, so.
Of course.
And to back up to the boat trailer, a boat trailer isn't a construction trailer, and there's no occupancy, so a boat trailer shouldn't be there.
I think our code will support that.
Yes. Or jet ski trailer.
Anything that relates to construction, I can see. But if it doesn't relate to construction, he doesn't have occupancy on that property, it shouldn't be there.
That vacant lot?
It's an unfinished home.
So that's code enforcement.
So it's incomplete.
So I talked to Chief Kuchar tomorrow.
And thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nathan,
I'll be brief.
I seen you running up there.
You're sick of me. Two things. One is, I spoke with Mr. Conley on this earlier. I think you authorized him and Mr. Kubiak to send a letter to RHB Properties that owns 13418 on Wicker Avenue about some concerns. There was a semi in the driveway, business on site, residential on site.
134 what?
13418 Wicker Avenue. So.
Yeah, it was one of the items that,
Stanger property.
Rich Teal brought up.
Yeah.
Is that the old Stanger property?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have no idea what's going on there.
So I've
That
got
was
the
the conversation.
I talked to Terry today, and I'll work with him and necessary departments and get clarity here, so just so you guys know if that's being handled.
You're representing that property owner
Yes, sir.
and sorting this all out?
Yep.
Okay, so they'll be in here in the near future?
I got retained today, so I gotta get to the bottom of what's going on here. When I know more and come up to the surface of water, then I'll be back before you, I'm sure.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
number two is I represent about 35, 40 HOAs, and I just wanna be sure that we can see through some of the speak. A couple of questions to ask when it comes to Rose Guards would be, number one, have the associations been turned over from the developer to the actual association?
You're talking about Rose Garden?
Yes, sir.
Ask him, but,
I represent one of the associates. That's question number one.
yeah,
No,
but,
I know.
Okay.
Just let me finish. Number two is, it's one thing to blame the management company that's out there. It's another to ask whether or not what is currently out there was built to spec of what was promised before it was completely turned over. I'm hearing a lot of blame to the management company. When in actuality, what I'm being told by associations out there is it was never constructed correctly in the first place. So let's see through some of the speak, and that's what I just want to clarify for the public record this evening. Okay,
I
thanks.
don't think we can clarify it.
I think
I imagine you're gone.
Tom McSherry, I believe, had mentioned certain areas had been turned over.
So, yeah, a couple have, but not all.
Yep, right.
Correct. Yep, thanks.
Hello, I'm Luke Fricky. I'm the Northwest Indiana Intelligence Manager for Lennar Homes. Our offices reside at 1700 East Gulf Road, Schaumburg, Illinois. I'm also from the area, Crown Point. I used to be the deputy planner. I will turn both of these questions over to Tom. He has a better answer to these questions, but I'll still be in the audience to talk to any applicants. Thank you.
Tom's still online, it looks like.
Yes, he is.
Yes. Yes, I'm not casting blame on the management company. I am saying that they need to do a better job of answering our residents' concerns, or if they have questions. Everything that we have installed, we have a third party, our landscape architect, Gabriel Weber Associates. They go out and they verify what has been planted. They verify that it has met their design. It verifies that the plant material is of a quality that is on the plan. We also have them do spring inspections and fall inspections for any dead material. That dead material is then replaced. Now, some of these areas have been turned over to the management company. Some of these areas have not been. We do have an agreement with the management company now that they have taken over all of the maintenance of every common area and open space in the Rose Garden subdivision. And once everything is met the planting requirements by Gary R. Weber Associates, a third party, they will then take that over in perpetuity.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other public comments? Any other public comments? Nobody else online? Seeing none? We're adjourned.